At the northern border of the Krasus kingdom, leading the army was Duke C, the northern frontier lord. His eyes widened in horror as he shouted in disbelief. Before him, a horde of grotesque undead lurched forward from all directions, leaving Elian frozen in place. The number of corpses was beyond imagination, an entire wave of deadly skeletal horrors rolling toward them. Before he could regain his composure, one of the soldiers beside him stammered in panic, "Your Grace, look over there, the Death Knight Durian. Even 10 elite knights fighting to the death would not be able to defeat him, Duke. With the forces we have now, there is no way we can win. We should retreat and prepare for a siege instead." The look in the soldier's eyes brimmed with despair. "Damn it, impossible, the northern wall has already fallen. If the city gate breaks too, this kingdom will be wiped off the map. Even if we die here, we must hold them off today." "Huh, someone's riding toward us from the distance." The Duke blinked in surprise. "Wait. What? What the hell? Who is reckless enough to charge straight into that?" The soldier squinted and quickly recognized the rider. It was Lord Urin Rox, the envoy sent by Marquis Dox from the southern territories. The man himself, Urin Rox, famed for fighting with daggers. But the enemy before him was Durian. There was no way a mere dagger could kill that monster. No way. Yet in the next instant, Urin dashed forward with blinding speed. His blades flashed through the air and Durian's head was already flying from his shoulders. Duke Elian stared, completely dumbfounded. What? The soldier gasped, equally shocked. Durian's dissolving? How? How's that possible? Urin Rox's shadow art struck precisely at the heart of the undead legion. Before everyone's stunned eyes, the rotting corpses began to melt into a foul, viscous sludge. Those terrifying monsters dissolving in a single strike. Could he be a saint sent down from the heavens? Hearing their astonished murmurs, Urin only muttered under his breath, "A saint? Do not make me laugh. What I got was experience. Mount Firebone, level 1, a toxin that liquefies the bones and marrow of the undead. Experience gained. The 10,000 venoms devouring art has absorbed a deadly poison. 4 heavens venom technique experience increased. Experience gained. Mount Firebone, level 1 experience increased. Anything that strengthens my body. Naturally, I will take it all for myself." He suddenly gasped awake, drenched in sweat. "Huh, what the, where am I?" A maid sitting beside the bed leaned forward in relief. "You have finally woken up, young master." He blinked at her dazedly, then blurted out, "Wow. You are gorgeous." His gaze dropped, and confusion flashed across his face. "But what is with those weird clothes, and that sword on your back?" Aaron's expression turned anxious. "Are you feeling all right, my lord?" I mean, I thought you were not well," she said awkwardly before stepping toward the door. "I will call the priest immediately." "Wait, no, hold on, I just want to ask," but she was already gone. He sighed, getting out of bed and muttering to himself, "Seriously, where the hell am I? This can't be happening. What the, my body? Where's my perfectly sculpted, mature body? Why'd I look like some chubby kid now? None of this makes sense. Is this a dream? Maybe if I go back to sleep, I will wake up." While he was spiraling in confusion, a group of people entered the room without him noticing. The priest stepped forward and said calmly, "You are awake, young master. Please, hold out your hand," the priest instructed. At that moment, Willington Dox appeared beside him, his face dark and severe. "So the disgrace of our family finally decided to wake up, huh?" Staring at the furious old man, Urin Rox's mind reeled. Who the hell is this terrifying old geezer? The priest hurriedly tried to calm things down. "The young master has only just regained consciousness. Perhaps we should refrain from harsh words for now." Willington Dox gritted his teeth but said nothing further. The priest examined Urin and announced, though he was unconscious, he has not suffered any severe injuries. His mental state appears stable, and most of his wounds have healed. That is a relief. The old man's words, though meant to reassure, only infuriated Willington Dox further. He roared, "Relief, do not make me laugh. It would have been better if he would just died. Attacking his own fiancée, what kind of beast is that? You are 19 already, is not it about time you started acting like an adult? Even your younger brother has already awakened his aura. And you, our eldest son, keep getting fatter by the day." Urin froze. "Aura," he muttered under his breath. But before he could say more, Willington barked out another order. Once you recover, you are going to see that girl and apologize properly. As the Marquis turned to leave, Yurin called after him, "Wait, Ilya." Willington stopped, looking back coldly. "Your fiancée, Ilya. If she does not forgive you, you are finished." His tone sent a chill through Yurin's spine. "Do I make myself clear?" Terrified, Yurin nodded frantically. "Why, yes, sir." Grinding his teeth, Willington spat out each word with venom. "Just do not bring any more disgrace to the Docks family." Yurin stood there, stunned, then suddenly blurted out, I am Yurin Rox." "Then you must be." "No way." At that, Willington Docks froze mid-step. The veins on his face bulged. "Willington, you little bastard, how dare you call your father by his name?" A sharp crack echoed through the room. Yurin took a slap so hard it left a burning red mark on his cheek, sending him sprawling onto the floor. The servants rushed in at once, grabbing the Marquis by the shoulders. "My lord, please, calm yourself." But Willington was still fuming, spitting out the words, "You worthless piece of trash." Yurin stared up at the ceiling, his head spinning. No way. No way. This has to be a dream. When he jolted awake again, panting and drenched in sweat, he gasped, "What the hell? Why have not I woken up from this nightmare yet?" Erin appeared at his bedside once more, concern soft in her eyes. "You are awake, my lord." "Wait," he blurted. "Yes," she replied quickly. He blinked, studying her. "Is that really Erin?" His silence puzzled her, but then he composed himself and spoke clearly. "So the reason I am lying here is because I chased after Ilya and got beaten half to death, then passed out, right?" Erin paused for a moment, then said softly, "No." "Huh, what is with you suddenly speaking so seriously?" he said with a nervous laugh, quickly forcing a clueless expression. "So basically, I lost the fight, huh?" Her voice was calm and deliberate. "Yes. You attacked Lady Ilya here, and she beat you until you were unconscious." Yurin groaned, dragging a hand through his hair. "Damn it. I am screwed." He muttered under his breath, "I get it now. Somehow, I have ended up inside the novel I wrote myself. And not as the protagonist but as the useless villain who picks fights with the hero and dies miserably." His face darkened, and he gritted his teeth. "No way. My lord." Erin said anxiously, watching him. But Yurin barely heard her. He threw his hands up in panic and shouted, "No way, this is not even a damn webtoon." She stared at him in shock, tears streaming down her cheeks. "So this is the original body I have possessed." To put it bluntly, the guy was a total failure. No talent, no skill, never trained a day in his life. Just a spoiled heir who coasted on his family's prestige. He lost his fiancée to the protagonist, flew into a rage, attacked him, got beaten half to death, and eventually died miserably in a filthy back alley. Recalling the plot made Yurin Rox even more depressed. In a world this dangerous, how the hell am I supposed to survive? Sure, this is a fantasy world, but I have no clue what abilities the real Yurin Rox even had. Then, a spark of realization hit him. Wait, at the very least, I know about all the opportunities, the hidden items the protagonist has not discovered yet. I need to get ready fast. Damn it, this body's too fat. I can barely move. He tried to stand but stumbled and fell flat on the floor. Erin rushed over, alarmed. "Are you all right, my lord? Do I look all right to you?" Yurin shot back bluntly. She froze, still bewildered, and said gently, "You should rest a little longer, my lord." But Yurin's expression shifted suddenly. "Wait. I can't see it right now. Is it because I frowned earlier?" His intense stare made Erin nervous, unaware that he was not looking at her but rather at something only he could see, the system interface. Name, Erin. Attributes, Quick Sword, Level 2. Clear Mind, Level 1. Aura Adaptation, Level 1. Affection. She did not have the legendary status window, so she could not see what he was staring at. Confused, she called softly, "My lord." Yurin blinked, snapping out of it. No, it is nothing. I probably just lost my mind for a second. I am fine now, go ahead and do your work. Yes, my lord, Erin said respectfully before leaving. Watching her go, Yurin thought to himself, Quick Sword, right. Erin was designed to be stronger and more capable than most knights. But what is this affection thing? Is this like some dating sim mechanic? Maybe it is because I played too many of those before. His mind drifted to memories of flirty, pixelated heroines from old games whispering, "Big brother." In syrupy voices prompting Yurin to throw up his hands and shout, "What the hell is going on with this world?" He fell silent, staring blankly into space as if calculating his odds. Then an idea dawned on him. Wait, at least her affection score is not negative. Considering how much of a jerk the original Yurin Rox was, that is already an achievement. But still, this can't be happening. He turned toward the mirror, scowling at his own reflection. The sight made his blood boil. But then his eyes caught the updated system window hovering beside him, calming him for a moment. Name, Yurin Rox. Special condition, severe obesity. Traits, Inventor's Eye, level 1. 4 Venoms technique, locked. Synchronization rate, 99.9%. One line in particular stood out. 4 Venoms technique. Wait a second. Is not that from the Martial webtoon I used to obsess over, the one with the ridiculously hot female lead? His heart skipped a beat. Yeah, 4 Venoms technique, the poison and hidden weapon martial art from that series. This world's plotline really is a complete mess. But if I can actually learn the 4 Venoms technique, that might just be my ticket to survival. The Sichuan Tang clan, a name that often appeared in Chinese wuxia novels. A legendary sect hailing from the Sichuan province, renowned for its mastery of poisons and silent assassinations using toxin-coated throwing weapons. Yurin Rox froze for a moment, bewildered. Why the hell is the Tang clan from Sichuan here? This is supposed to be a medieval fantasy world, not ancient China. Still, a spark of excitement flickered in his eyes. But what if I can unlock that ability? Meanwhile, Willington Dock stood silently in the corner of the room until a knock at the door broke the quiet. "My Lord Duke." A servant bowed respectfully. "Has Yurin woken up yet?" Willington asked sharply. "Yes, my lord. He has been awake for a while," Aaron replied. The Duke immediately turned to her. "How is he?" Aaron hesitated, then answered carefully. "Not very well, my lord. He was unsteady when he tried to stand. His body's still quite weak." Willington's expression darkened. So Priest Ali was wrong. He said the boy's injuries were not serious. "But tell me, have you noticed anything strange about Yurin's behavior? Normally, if I ordered him to apologize to Ilya, he would have thrown a tantrum. But today, he just agreed. A person's nature does not change overnight. He must just be dazed for now. By tomorrow, he will probably lose his mind again and try to get back at Ilya." Aaron gently reassured him, "I am sure the young master will recover in time, my lord." Willington paused, glancing back at her, his face caught between disbelief and pity. "Even I, his father, have already given up on him. Yet you still have faith in that boy. I almost feel sorry for you. You should have lived a peaceful life as a knight instead. It must be miserable serving under someone like him." Aaron said nothing, afraid to make things worse. "No, my lord," she thought quietly. The young master. Somehow, he seems a little different today. I can't explain it, but something's changed. And indeed, the next morning, a startled cry echoed through the mansion. "What did you just say you wanted to do, my lord?" "I said I want to exercise a little," Yurin repeated flatly. "There is a training hall here, right, or whatever you call it, a practice ground. Take me there." Aaron's eyes went wide with disbelief. "You mean, you want to train, right now?" Her tone annoyed him slightly. "What is the problem with that?" He muttered to himself as they walked. "The Inventor's Eye trait lets me check stats, but to unlock the 4 Venoms technique, I have no idea how. With this fat body, I would better start with training before I try anything else." But after only a few steps, he was already panting. "Damn it. The garden of this mansion is the size of several football fields combined. I am exhausted already. Still, if I stay in my room, this lump of fat I call a body will drag me right back to bed. Home workouts are definitely not an option." A few servants passed by, bowing stiffly. "Good morning, my lord." Yurin noticed their expressions immediately. "Yeah, I see it. Every servant who looks at me despises me. But really, can I blame them? With the kind of scum the old Yurin Rox was, their hate is well deserved." By the time they reached the training hall, he was drenched in sweat and gasping for breath. "Are we there yet?" "Almost, my lord. This is training hall no. 3, Aaron explained. "Most of the knights use halls 1 and 2. As they entered, Yurin spotted someone inside. The system interface flashed in front of him. Affection, -91. Intent, kill. He froze. What? That guy's name is Rekka Alian. Trait, quick sword, level 1. Affection -91. Intent, kill. Rekka strode toward him, expression cold and unreadable. Well, if it is not the young master himself. What brings you here? Yurin pointed at him in alarm. Rekka. Alian. Rekka's lips curved into a faint smirk. In honor, truly did not expect the young master to still remember my name. Seeing the sword in Rekka's hand, he immediately softened his tone and replied with a forced smile, of course I do. Then he quickly turned to Aaron and whispered, Hey, Aaron. She flinched slightly. Yes, my lord. Yurin lowered his voice. What exactly happened between me and that guy? She glanced toward Rekka, hesitating. You do not remember. He shook his head firmly. No. When she realized he truly did not remember, Aaron quietly explained, a few years ago, when the Marquis forced you to train, you got angry and called Rekka, who was still just a knight in training back then. You laughed. And then slashed his face. That is how he got that scar. Yurin was utterly stunned. What? After that, she continued softly, the Marquis gave up on forcing you to train altogether. Yurin turned toward Rekka in disbelief. No way. But the moment his gaze met Rekka's cold, murderous eyes, a chill shot down his spine. Inside, he cursed furiously at himself. The old Yurin really wasn't a redeemable piece of garbage. Without a second thought, he grabbed Aaron's hand and started walking briskly away. You know what, let us head back. Huh, she blinked, confused. Go back. As they walked, he tried to sound casual. Aaron, is there another training hall somewhere, preferably one where I can train alone? She frowned slightly but answered honestly, there is training hall no. 4, but it is quite far, and the facilities are terrible. It is basically just an empty field. The moment he heard that, Yurin's spirits lifted. That sounds perfect. If I am going to lose weight, I will do it properly. Aaron hesitated, taken aback by his enthusiasm, but then nodded. Very well. Please follow me this way to training hall no. 4. By the time they arrived, Yurin was out of breath, speaking between gasps. All right. We are here. But the moment he looked around, fatigue vanished from his face. The place was plain, crude even, with a few old weapons scattered across a table, but it was quiet, secluded, and perfect. He eyed the weapons thoughtfully. Sichuan poison arts specialized in concealed weapons and small blades, right? After a moment of contemplation, he reached out and grabbed one. Let us see what happens. Standing in the middle of the yard, he positioned himself a few meters away from the target board. He focused, took a deep breath, then clenched his jaw and threw the small dagger with all his might. The dagger wobbled weakly through the air and clattered pathetically to the ground, bouncing like a toy. Yurin's shoulders slumped. Seriously, I thought I could at least hit the damn thing. Remembering that Aaron was still watching, he hastily tried to play it off. I was just testing it out. Maybe I should build up some basic strength first. Perhaps a few laps around the hall. You go ahead and do whatever training you want. Aaron simply stood there, stunned, watching him start jogging clumsily around the yard. Is this really Yurin? She thought, speechless. Even Willington could not believe it when he heard. What? Yurin actually went to the training hall and started exercising? Strange. I wonder how long that'll last. But 3 weeks passed, and to his astonishment, Yurin had not skipped a single day. The boys lost a lot of weight, Willington muttered to himself. His appearance has changed so much. No more of that ridiculous fat. He actually looks handsome now. Could it be that my son has finally matured? As another day faded into twilight, the grand castle glowed under the soft evening light. Yurin stood before a mirror, deep in thought. I have slimmed down a lot, but the Sichuan poison arts trait still has not unlocked. I will give it another month. If it still does not trigger by then, I will seize the opportunity that was meant for the protagonist. Just then, Aaron entered the room. Young master, I have brought your dinner. Yurin turned politely. All right, thank you. The dish she set down was something called chirain soup. Despite the rustic name, it was known to be a highly nutritious meal excellent for restoring stamina, burning fat, and building muscle. It is a family tradition of House Docks, she explained. After every training session, everyone eats this. Though it was good for him, The sight of it made Yuren sigh inwardly. Chirain soup again, huh? Aaron noticed his expression. Are you getting tired of it already? He immediately responded, of course I am. I have been eating this same damn soup for 3 weeks straight. Seeing his attitude, Aaron's tone turned cold. Young master, what is it that you truly desire? Is it simply to lose weight, or do you actually wish to become a knight? Before she could even finish, Yuren answered without hesitation, of course I want to become a knight of this territory. Then stop complaining, she said firmly. Even the Marquis himself drinks chirain soup after every training session. So, young master, please just eat yours. Her tone left no room for argument, and Yuren had no choice but to comply. Alright, fine. Inside, though, he grumbled silently. Guess you really do learn new things every day. What kind of ancient boomer tradition is this anyway? Still, it has helped me lose weight. I guess I will put up with it for now. With a resigned sigh, he lifted a spoonful of soup and took a bite only to freeze mid-motion. What the hell, the chirain soup tastes different today. Curiosity piqued, he took another spoonful, then another, eating faster as if trying to confirm it. That was when the system window suddenly appeared before his eyes. You have been poisoned. Yuren's mind went blank. What? His eyes widened in utter disbelief. Then, another notification flashed. You have fulfilled the conditions to unlock Sichuan Poison Arts. Trait unlocked, Sichuan Poison Arts. For a moment, he just stared at the glowing text, stunned. Then, a helpless, almost bitter smile crept across his lips. Seriously? This is how it unlocks. Willington often observed Yuren through the window, a satisfied smile tugging at his lips. As expected of my son, he murmured proudly. He has lost weight and looks handsome now. Has the boy really grown up at last? A sudden knock on the door broke his train of thought. His tone turned cool and composed. Come in. The door opened to reveal a woman. My lady, he greeted her. She replied softly, I brought you some tea. It was his second wife, Kana. But, my lord, she said with a gentle smile, what has captured your attention so much? Willington gave a casual answer. Nothing, just admiring how beautiful the garden looks. Kana giggled sweetly. I tended to it myself, you know. You did wonderfully, he said warmly. Taking advantage of his softened tone, she slipped her arms around him from behind, her voice still syrupy but tinged with intent. By the way, my lord. When will you announce Colin as your successor, as you promised? You have already decided, have not you? Would not it be better to make it official soon? Her embrace tightened, subtly pressing for an immediate answer. But Willington's voice remained calm and clear. That matter will require a bit more time. Kana's eyes widened in disbelief. Her tone sharpened instantly. What? But you said you would declare Colin the heir this month. Willington stayed composed, speaking gently as though to calm a storm. Yes, I did say that. But surely you have heard Yuren has regained some of his clarity lately. He is the eldest son of House Dox. If he truly devotes himself from this point on, he might yet prove to be a worthy heir. Seeing that he was firm in his stance, Kana's anger cooled. She quickly replaced her glare with a soft, honeyed smile. You are right. I have heard the same. I was terribly worried, but I am relieved to know the boy's finally come to his senses. You must feel at ease now. Willington's features relaxed. Indeed. Imagine it getting beaten up by his fiancée was all it took to knock some sense into him. That boy. Kana smiled faintly, but her voice carried a glacial edge. So, what do you plan to do about the matter of succession then? He did not bother to hide his thoughts. It has only been 3 weeks since he started training. I think we should wait a bit longer. But I promise you this, if he goes back to his old ways, I will immediately name Colin, our eldest together, as the heir. Kana turned toward the door, her smile unshaken. I will head back to my room, then. Do come by when you are finished here. The moment the door closed behind her, her expression darkened. Her eyes glinted with fury as she gritted her teeth and hissed under her breath. Yuren. Just you wait. Meanwhile, in Yuren's room, the system window had updated. The previously locked Sichuan Poison Arts trait was now fully unlocked. He froze, eyes widening in disbelief. So that is it. The Sichuan Poison Arts specialize in toxins, and the unlocking condition was drinking poison. Are you kidding me? Thinking back, chirain soup, despite its rustic name, was known as a high nutrition meal. Great for strengthening the body, burning fat, and building muscle. It was a doc's family tradition to eat it after training. But as he stared at the system interface, something caught his eye. Wait, what is that icon below? When he focused on it, the screen scrolled down automatically. Herbal data updated, Hanyang herb, paralytic property. Hanyang herb, a medicinal ingredient that contains trace amounts of toxin. Harmless in small doses, but prolonged ingestion causes progressive paralysis leading to death. It even shows that kind of information, he muttered in shock. Just then, Aaron returned, startling him. Young master, she said with concern, why are not you eating? Aaron blinked, snapping out of his thoughts. Oh right, I am eating. But his mind was racing. Wait a second. Who would put poison in this? Normally, urine could not be killed by toxins. That means the story's course has already changed. And now that I think about it, something that should have happened by now still has not. That is right. Colin the second son should have already been declared the official heir at this point. But that has not happened yet. Could it be? Because I started training. His eyes hardened as the realization sank in. Then whoever poisoned me must belong to their faction. At that very moment, the system updated again. Unlock condition met, weak paralysis poison. Aaron forced a smile, his tone strained. Aaron, I have finished it all. It was so good it almost made me cry. I would like a bit of time to myself, could you step outside for a while? Her face darkened even more than his. Ah. Very well, young master. Please rest for today. I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, sure. Sleep well, he replied hastily, waving her off. The moment Aaron closed the door behind her, Aaron spun back toward his bed. All right, let us see it. Sichuan Poison Arts, show yourself. A new interface instantly appeared before his eyes. He could not help but mutter in admiration, that is some smart design. Minor muscle ache detected, crafting eye trade active. Sichuan Poison Arts, synchronization rate 97.7%. If I focus on it like in VR, Sichuan Poison Arts. Poison branch, hidden weapon branch, martial art branch. All locked. Smart locking system, he noted, eyes darting rapidly over each element on the screen. Let us see. First up, Poison LV.1, Numb Toxin locked, requires internal energy LV.2. Long Poison locked, needs lower level toxin unlocked. True Medicine locked. Soul Killing Smoke locked. Wow, there are so many poisons. Let us scroll down. Poison LV.30, Supreme Invisible locked, also requires lower level toxins unlocked. So this one's the final available poison, meaning I will have to start from the bottom. He tapped his chin thoughtfully. So this is a level-based unlock system. To learn the most basic one, Numb Toxin, I need an internal energy technique first. Makes sense. Sichuan Poison Arts relies on internal energy to channel toxins. Alright, let us check the martial branches, hidden weapons and martial arts. Choose a basic internal art. 3 options appeared, Black Poison Technique, Thunder Needle Technique, and 10,000 Poison Divine Power. A warning message followed, only one internal art can be selected. He grinned. Easy choice. For a martial arts fan like me, this is a no-brainer. Black Poison focuses purely on toxins, Thunder Needle on hidden weapons. But 10,000 Poison Divine Power, though harder to train, lets me reach the pinnacle of both. With a satisfied nod, he laughed softly. Just like in those wuxia novels, the main characters always go big. Without hesitation, he confirmed his choice. You have selected 10,000 Poison Divine Power. A surge of new energy coursed through him, and Aaron's eyes widened in astonishment. Unbelievable. The techniques are directly engraving themselves into my mind. I need to test this out immediately. He quickly shrugged off his outer robe and sat cross-legged on the bed, posture straight and focused. I can feel a strange current flowing through my body. This must be the qi circulation pattern, guiding energy along the meridians, gathering it in the dantian to form internal power. He trained without rest, his breathing steady and deep. The entire night passed in quiet meditation. When the first rays of dawn spilled into his room, Aaron opened his eyes and smiled faintly. Amazing. So those martial arts novels were not lying about cultivating all night without sleep. It is real. I do not even feel tired actually, I am overflowing with energy. He stretched, marveling at the sensation. I can even sense the flow of qi around me. There are 3 birds outside the window. I can feel them without looking. And this warm, stable energy inside it is solid, real. He steadied his breathing again. If I can guide this energy to my head without a mirror. Ah, the status window's open. Wait, I sense a familiar aura outside the door. His gaze snapped toward the closed door. A few seconds later, it opened. Aaron stepped inside. Young master, I came to wake you. Why is your salad still untouched? Did not you sleep at all? Yurin turned away quickly, flustered. Just coincidence. She frowned, genuinely concerned. That is not good. You should rest today. But as she turned to leave, he jumped up. No, I am training. I feel amazing top condition. I have to get started right away. Aaron gave him a puzzled look, as though staring at some strange creature. Very well then. I will prepare breakfast first. She left the room in a hurry, muttering under her breath. Since when did the young master start having muscles? A while later, they both headed down to the training grounds. Yurin once again stood before the table lined with weapons. He studied them quietly for a moment and murmured, so it is real. Without hesitation, he picked up a short sword and faced the target. Huh, wait a sec. That is a targeting reticle like in an FPS game. Alright, let us do this. Focus and aim dead center. Gritting his teeth, Yurin channeled all his strength into his arm and hurled the blade. Aaron froze in disbelief as the short sword shot forward like a bullet, piercing straight through the bullseye. A confident grin spread across his face. Bullseye. Even Aaron was speechless at the sight. Then the system chimed again. Sichuan Poison Arts, hidden weapon branch successfully unlocked. Aaron could not believe what she would just seen. Her eyes widened as she stammered, Young master. What did you just do? Yurin replied as casually as if it were nothing. I am not really sure myself. I guess a month of training is finally paying off. That answer only made her more confused. That is impossible. Her bewildered expression delighted him. That is the first time I have ever seen Aaron so flustered. He grinned. Alright then, let us give it another go, shall we? He picked up another knife, focusing all his attention on the target ahead. When I throw it, it feels like a wave of heat surges up from my lower abdomen. Good. This time it is even faster and stronger than before. The short blade flew straight toward the next target, striking dead center. The impact was so powerful that cracks splintered across the wooden board. Oh my god, the target board, Aaron exclaimed in shock. Yurin's face darkened slightly, though a gleam of amusement flickered in his eyes. So it is real. Having a targeting reticle like an FPS game appear in my vision feels like cheating. He chuckled inwardly. Believe it or not, back in the day, I even won a cafe tournament for an FPS called War Strike at the Dungpo PC room. Aaron's eyes went wide. Just what on earth is happening right now? Yurin turned to her, speaking in a calm, almost testing tone. Aaron, can you feel anything from me? The unexpected question left her momentarily speechless. Feel, in what sense, other than the fact that you have lost quite a bit of weight since yesterday? I can't really say. Lost a lot of weight, he repeated, puzzled. She nodded seriously. Yes. You have been training every day and drinking chirain soup, so your weight's been dropping steadily, but today, your appearance has changed dramatically. At that moment, realization struck him. Wait. She can't sense my internal energy at all. Does that mean no one else in this world can use qi besides me? Then no one will ever notice what kind of power I have really gained. His mood lifted instantly. Alright then, let us keep training. One after another, every knife hit the target dead center with perfect precision. Alright, he murmured, determination sharpening his tone. This time, I will make the blade pass cleanly through the gap of another. The short knife sliced through the air, threading flawlessly between 2 others before embedding itself into the board. Perfect, he said with a satisfied smirk. Aaron, still reeling from shock, finally blurted out, Young master, wait, let me try once. She picked up a throwing knife herself. Her first attempt missed the board completely. The second hit but failed to stick. Yurin could not help but tease, so there are things you can't do after all, huh? Then, a thought struck him, and his eyes widened. Oh, right, status window. Sichuan Tangmen memory unlocked complete. Dao throwing technique unlocked. You can now throw faster and stronger not only with memorized weapons, but also with stones. Wood, statues, iron swords, or any object as if it were a weapon you have trained with. Yuren's eyes lit up with excitement. Any weapon, huh, let us see. While he was grinning like a kid who'd just discovered a new toy, Eren frowned, muttering in frustration, why can't I get it right? Then he spoke up suddenly. Let us test something, step aside a bit. Yes, sir, she replied, taking a cautious step back. That is when she noticed what he was holding and froze. Wait, what is that? A broken stick. Yuren raised the dull wooden stick high with bold confidence. I can feel the internal energy flowing from my dantian into my arm. He thrust it forward. Dao throwing technique. The wooden stick shot out like a projectile, striking the target dead center with such force that the entire board split apart with a loud crack. Eren stood there, stunned. Good heavens, young master, what in the world just happened? That power. What is it? He scratched his head, trying to sound casual. Ah, well, I am not too sure myself. Maybe it is the power of hard training. She immediately rejected that explanation. That is impossible. His tone turned serious. Eren, I know you will probably report this to my father, right, but I have a favor to ask. Could you keep this between us for a while? Huh, she hesitated, unsure how to respond, but before she could finish, Yuren spoke over her. I am testing something right now. I will explain everything later, so. Just wait a little, alright? After a brief pause, she nodded reluctantly. Yes, sir. As dusk settled, the estate began to quiet down. The servants called out their farewells as they headed home. Good work today, see you tomorrow. Sleep well, Peru. Yeah, see you tomorrow, the man named Peru replied cheerfully, waving as he walked off toward his quarters. When his figure finally disappeared into the distance, Yuren emerged from the shadows of the corridor, his expression sharp and focused. He activated his ability. Eye of Creation. Target, Peru. Attributes, Poison Finger, Level 1. Dexterity, Level 1. Disposition, not neutral. Poison Finger, an ability that allows the user to infuse toxins into food. So it really was him. His eyes narrowed. Finally, the real test. He extended his hand. A faint glow of mana gathered around his fingers. Let us see how this works. Paralytic Poison. A surge of magic burst forth from his palm, flowing like a silent wave. Peru stiffened mid-step, his eyes widening in confusion as his body suddenly gave out beneath him. What? The toxin worked quickly, his limbs refused to move, the paralysis spreading until he collapsed completely. Yuren watched him with cool precision. It worked. I can even see the duration effect. 1 hour, huh? He grabbed the man by the collar and muttered, let us move you somewhere more private. Later that night, beneath the pale light of the moon, Peru groaned awake on the cold floor of a storage shed. Before he could make sense of his surroundings, a cold voice spoke from the shadows. Wake up. Peru's breath hitched as he recognized the silhouette standing over him. Yuren's tone was calm, but his eyes were filled with menace. You are awake now, right? You know who I am, do not you? The man's face turned pale. Fear flooded his eyes. Yuren stepped closer, his voice low and sharp as a blade. If you want to live, you would better answer me clearly. You are the one who poisoned my soup. Or not you? Yuren's voice echoed through the hushed space. Peru, I have a few questions for you. If it is true, blink once. If it is false, blink twice. Do you understand? The man nodded frantically, which pleased Yuren. Good. Let me ask again, were you the one who laced my soup with poison? Peru widened his eyes until they were white with terror, then, helpless, shut them and nodded. Calmly, Yuren pressed on. The toxin you used was the Hanyang herb, correct? At that, Peru's panic deepened, but he still obediently nodded, unable to do otherwise. Yuren drove the interrogation deeper. All right. Did Lady Kana order you to poison me? Time stretched as Yuren's voice dropped low and threatening. What, is not that so? You bastard, do not lie, because I already know everything. If you lie, your throat will open up. The warning hung in the air like a blade. Now tell me again, was it Lady Kana who gave you the command? Peru, already near collapse with fear, shook his head in denial so fiercely that Yuren felt a flicker of surprise. The man did not appear to be lying. Then who? Yuren thought. I will dig into that later. He produced a small pill and ordered, take this and swallow it. It was the numb paralysis poison. Peru had no time to react. He swallowed the strange pill under duress. Yuren then said coldly, "From now on you have exactly 1 month to live. If you do not take the antidote I possess before then, all your organs will rot away. From this moment on you will obey my orders, understand?" The man nodded in terrified agreement. Yuren patted his head, his voice softening a notch. "Good. Now release the numb paralysis." The toxin's effect lifted, and Peru's throat cleared with a breathy, "Huh," Yuren explained. "You can move and speak again now." Peru answered meekly, "Yes, sir." Without delay, Yuren pressed on. "Tell me once more who ordered you to poison me." The man hesitated, then blurted the name, Captain Karax Livingstone. Yuren's eyebrows rose. "Karax spilled everything after that. He would been ordered to ensure you die of illness this year," the man said. Yuren fell into thought. Karax Kana's brother, the knight's captain, allied through marriage to the Marquis. His earlier suspicion had not been entirely wrong, she had an accomplice. But that was not the whole of it. Yuren handed Peru a sheet of paper. Peru winced as he recognized the list. It was nothing but names of poisons. Very few people knew as much about toxins as Peru did, which made him the perfect operative. Yuren commanded, "These can be bought on the black market. Take money from Karax, gather all of these poisons, and bring them to me. Start with whatever you already have by tomorrow night." Peru, panicked, blurted out, "But why do you need poisons?" Yuren's glare shut him up. "Did I give you permission to ask questions?" Peru bowed his head and replied in a trembling voice, "Understood." Yuren lit his lantern and stalked away, tossing over his shoulder, "Good. Now go. One more thing, make sure Hanyang herb is always present in my food from now on. Do you understand?" The demand stunned him. Back in his room, Yuren whooped with glee, alone and exultant. "Damn, this is perfect." The martial arts world was cooler than you would imagined. Peru had fallen right into the trap of the numb paralysis poison, though in truth it was just some dried leaves crudely bound together. In any case, Yuren told himself, he needed to master the 4 venoms technique quickly. If the plot followed the story he would written, a terrible event would soon erupt beyond the estate. Dawn came and went. After a full day and into another night, Peru returned, voice trembling as he announced, "Young master." Yuren said simply, "Come in." The two of them pulled their hoods over their heads. Peru, grinning with excitement, said, "I brought the poisonous herbs I already had." He unfolded a cloth, revealing several neatly arranged herbs. Yuren's sharp eyes immediately identified them. "This is Hanyang, that one's Yekrokpa, and this Livingstone." Peru's eyes went wide in disbelief. "What? How's that possible? These are all rare, high-grade poisons. Having them all at once is unbelievable." Yuren replied modestly, "This is not much, really. I can see everything through the status window anyway," he thought. Hanyang carried a paralysis attribute, Yekrokpa an activation attribute, and Livingstone a blood-draining one. Returning to the main issue, he asked, "But if your goal was to kill me, the Hanyang herb alone should have been enough, right? Why bring the others?" Peru hesitated, then explained, "Well, using Hanyang takes time. Once antibodies start forming, it becomes less effective. But if you mix in other toxins once Hanyang's symptoms appear, the overall effect multiplies." Yuren rubbed his chin, eyes lighting up. "So, in other words, combining poisons makes them stronger and more intricate." He glanced back at Peru. "Where did you learn all this?" Peru scratched his head, answering honestly, "When I was 8, I was sold to the Livingstone family. A poison master there trained me personally." Yuren asked, "Were there others like you?" "At first there were about 20 kids," Peru said quietly. "But they all died. I was the only one who survived." Watching Peru's expression, Yuren fell silent. That makes sense, he thought. Children without a natural resistance to toxins would not last long in that environment. Still, this one seems to despise the Livingstone family. Maybe I have found myself a useful tool. Then he softened his tone and said, "All right, you have done well. That is enough for today. You can go." Relieved, Peru bowed deeply. "Yes, thank you, young master. Have a peaceful night." After the man left, Yuren muttered to himself, "All right, time to begin. I will consume every one of these poisonous herbs. This is disgusting. I think I am going to throw up." That night, he consumed the Hanyang herb. 10,000 Venom's divine power has absorbed Hanyang's toxin. He then swallowed Yekrokpa. 10,000 Venom's divine power has absorbed Yekrokpa's toxin. Finally, he ingested Livingtane. 10,000 Venom's divine power has absorbed Livingtane's toxin. Danger, risk of poisoning detected. He took a deep breath. Now ascend to the second form. Gritting his teeth, he endured the unbearable pain, pushing through until sweat drenched his face. Time blurred from dawn's dim light to the full brightness of morning. Then came a steady knock at his door. As always, Erin poked her head in and called softly, "Young master, it is morning." But when she stepped fully inside, she froze in shock. "Lord Urine, what is happening to your body?" 10,000 Venom's divine power has advanced to the second form. New martial arts acquired, minor dragon step, delayed venom technique, true essence of medicine, and soul-slaying mist unlocked. Urine opened his eyes at last, confidence radiating from him as he looked at her. Erin blurted out in alarm, "Young master, what is happening to your body?" Her voice trembled as she repeated, "Young master, what is going on?" Then she abruptly froze. "Wait, what is that awful smell?" He flushed a little, unsure how to explain. "Ah. Well, I just realized something. When your internal energy surges and your martial level rises, the body expels a lot of waste all at once." He brightened, somehow proud amid the stench. "Pretty nasty, huh? I will open the window." Erin hurriedly blocked him. "Please do not just go take a bath instead." He reluctantly agreed. "All right." Outside, warm sunlight bathed the castle as the two of them trailed out toward the training ground. Urine's excitement had not faded. Little Dragon Step, level 1 is learning movement now. Little Dragon Step, the Tang sect's footwork, perfect for swift movement, assassination, and dodging. He could not believe it was really learning a skill that existed only in martial novels. Just copying the motions made him feel like he was flying. Suddenly Erin turned back. "Young master." He blinked, startled. "Yes, Erin." She looked at him with a tired sigh and complained, "Why are you suddenly walking like you are drunk? Is your body okay?" He waved her off with an awkward smile, trying to explain, "I am fine, do not worry about me. Relax your face a bit." They kept walking. He grinned so foolishly that Erin could not help asking again, "But are you really okay?" She turned to him, worry plain in her eyes. "Are you really going to the training hall today? There are a lot of knights there." He smiled reassuringly. "I told you I will be fine. I only want to see how the other knights train, that is all. Do not worry about me." After a little further, she announced, "We are almost there." At the practice field, knights trained with relentless focus, the air filled only with their breathing and the thud of practice. One soldier quickly noticed the pair. "Who are those two? Is not that the young master's steward, and the guy behind her? Who is he? Does the Marquis house have a handsome man like that? No way, I heard the young master lost tons of weight training. Unbelievable. Could the knights really be whispering right in front of them? So that really is the notorious young master. Impossible, just a month ago he looked like a pig. What kind of magic did he use?" Urine forced a smile. "You lot can whisper all you want, but thanks to my internal energy I can hear everything." Erin tugged his sleeve and pointed to one side. "See that one training so devotedly? He looks like a knight in training, but his posture is excellent. He will become a junior knight soon. Those moves, those are the basic dock stances. Young master, watch carefully." Urine followed her finger and froze when he recognized the trainee, Kraid, the protagonist of the novel and later an ally of the main hero. "I would never pictured him quite like this before meeting the hero," he thought. Kraid trained on, silently repeating his forms, unaware of Urine standing nearby and feeling a surge of exhilaration. He is here, interesting. This could be useful later. Yet even now, his gaze betrayed visible contempt for the other knights. Affection -90, hostile. Affection -91, intent to kill. Affection -87, disgust. Urine lifted an eyebrow and thought, "You will all be my test subjects." First up, delayed venom, level 1. Once absorbed, it spreads through every organ in an instant. Hundreds of poisoning cases. The moment he gripped his sword, Urine immediately locked onto his first target. Activate delayed poison. The soldier in front of him froze, confusion flashing across his face. "Huh," he blurted before suddenly collapsing to his knees with a strangled cry of pain. The others turned at once, alarmed. "Hey, you okay? What is going on? You need to take a dump or something," The man shook his head violently, trembling all over. And no, it is not that. Drool began dripping uncontrollably from the corners of his mouth, sending the rest of the soldiers into a panic. Damn it, get a priest, quick. But then, as abruptly as it started, he went still. His pained expression vanished. Huh, the soldier next to him crouched down, wary. You okay now? The man blinked, then muttered in disbelief, the pain's gone. His comrades scowled. You bastard, are you screwing with us? I told you, if you gotta go, just go, damn moron. I swear I was in pain. Watching the scene, Yurin smirked faintly and murmured under his breath, all right. Soul smoke level 1. Induce fear and confusion within a fixed radius. The three soldiers kept bickering, completely unaware that something far worse was creeping into their minds. Keep joking and you will regret it, I am warning you. I told you it is real. Just try that again and see what happens. Just as Yurin gave the command to activate again, another scream tore through the air. A creature with a dog's head appeared before them. Eren flinched. What the three soldiers scrambled backward, shouting in terror. Stay away from me, she frowned, confused. What is wrong with them? Why are they acting like that? But to the soldiers' eyes, the friend standing beside them had transformed into a flaming beast or worse, a reanimated skeleton swinging a sword at them. No, one of them gasped, face pale as chalk, raising his weapon in blind panic. Damn it, what the hell? Just as he swung, everything snapped back to normal. They looked at each other, wide-eyed. What the hell was that? What just happened? Yurin thought grimly to himself, I can't let this escalate into real bloodshed. He watched them bicker again. You looked like a monster just now. No way, you looked like a demon, and allowed himself a satisfied smile. Today's test is done. Still pretty impressive, he remarked. Then he spoke aloud, Eren, let us head back. She blinked. Huh, we are leaving already, he turned, calm and composed. Too noisy here. Let us switch to training hall 4. As they started walking back, a servant came running toward them. Young master, there you are, someone's here to see you. Yurin raised an eyebrow. A guest, who? The servant lowered his voice nervously. It is Lady Ilia. She has come to visit you. Meanwhile, Ilia stood silently in the room, gazing out the window, her expression cold and unreadable. Without turning around, she spoke, her voice frosted with resolve. Yurin, this time, I am ending our engagement. Then she slowly turned to face him and froze. Yulia, she breathed in confusion. The moment her eyes met his, she stiffened, her face flushing with a mix of embarrassment and disbelief. He stood there, calm and composed, his demeanor exuding quiet confidence. So, you are here, he said evenly. She blinked, stunned, unable to believe what she was seeing. Who are you? A few minutes earlier the maid had whispered, young master, he is here. Yurin answered once. The maid stammered out her report, a guest has come. Yurin asked, who is the guest? The maid's face froze in embarrassment before she managed to say, it is Lady Ilia, she has come to see you. Yurin's eyes widened in surprise. He rubbed his chin and thought, Ilia the fiancé who can fight has come. Maybe she is finally insisting on breaking the engagement. But he had already refused to break it. He sighed inwardly, murmuring, well, fair enough. In the luxurious room a young woman stood motionless, gazing out the window. Hearing the noise behind her, Ilia did not turn. She said bluntly, Yurin, this time I will definitely break the engagement. Then she slowly turned to face him. Yurin stepped forward and called, Ilia, so you have come. The instant she saw him, her cheeks flushed crimson. Ilia stared in shock and asked, who are you? Yurin blinked. Huh, it is me, Yurin. She screamed in disbelief, what? That is when Yurin realized what had startled her. He hurried to smooth things over. It has been a while, has not it? He offered. Ilia stood there, mouth open, eyes wide, and stammered, no way. I heard you were training to lose weight, but I thought it was just a rumor. Less than 2 months, and you have changed so much. Yurin nodded. I have been training hard. Her surprise deepened. You trained hard, she repeated. He moved toward the window. After you beat me, I thought a lot. I decided to change. Ilia hesitated and pointed at him. Are you provoking me, trying to get revenge? No, he said firmly, then, to her astonishment, suddenly dropped to his knees. Ilia gasped. Yurin did not pay attention to the shock on her face. He spoke earnestly. I am grateful to you. It was because of you that I woke up. I truly apologize for what happened before. If you want to break the engagement because of that, I will accept it. Ilya blinked, bewildered. What? Who are you, really? Faced with her interrogation, he replied casually, me, the same worthless Yurin as before. I am truly sorry. Ilya was stunned. She could only manage a single word after a long pause. Yurin remained kneeling, but inside he thought, honestly, it was not my fault. Blame the former owner of this body. Still, I have a reason to apologize this much. Ilya is not just any heroine. Her queen's sword trait, because of that trait she becomes stronger. Later she saves the fallen protagonist and even defeats an important villain. That is why, even if we annul the engagement, it is better to restore relations and turn her into an ally. After a moment of silence, Ilya finally said, stand up. Are you serious? She sounded as if she meant the engagement. Yurin rose and answered, I promise. Ilya's tone turned cold, no excuses. As she spoke, an aura radiated from her so intense it left him breathless. An aura. She is putting pressure on me with that suffocating presence. But I have seen this before somewhere. Before he could say anything more, Ilya narrowed her eyes and hissed. From now on you will not live as you did before. If you break that promise, I will personally beat you to death. Yurin broke into a cold sweat and wondered. Is not that exactly the line Ilya says to the protagonist? But she would not say that to Yurin, yet I can hardly breathe. I muttered the name of the technique under my breath, 10,000 venoms divine power. Ilya's eyes widened. As soon as I spoke it, a strong aura began to radiate from my body. I smiled confidently. She just stood there bewildered, murmuring, what is this, an aura? My voice, softer now, vowed, I swear. Ilya's face flushed again at the surety in my tone. She stepped past me, covering herself as if embarrassed, and added, all right. I will be watching. If you screw up one more time, the engagement will be annulled unconditionally. I froze for a beat at that. She is not breaking the engagement, and then the scene shifted. To a grand reception room in the mansion where Marquis Willington Dox's measured voice asked, have you seen Yurin? I have, Ilya replied obediently. He hesitated. Well, have you decided? I have. I won't annul the engagement, she said. For a moment Willington sat forward, surprised. May I ask your reason? I do not fully understand it myself, Ilya answered slowly. Father always says people can't change, but there are rumors that he has. She exhaled, then continued, I was curious. I wanted to see if he would become the weak but kind boy again. She shook her head. He has not. He has become a completely different person. That is why I want to try trusting him this time. Willington still seemed unconvinced. Really? Yes, she said, sipping her tea and nodding firmly. Then her tone deepened, but if he goes back to being a reprobate, I will personally beat him to death. Willington broke into a nervous laugh and wiped his brow. That is a heroine for you. Please take good care of Yurin. Sit a while longer. Ilya stood politely. I will be going now. Willington blinked. You should stay a few days. She fidgeted awkwardly. I told father I came to annul the engagement. He finally understood and said, well, at least see Yurin before you go. Ilya demurred politely. No, it is fine. He is training, and I do not want to disturb him. Willington relented. Very well. Give my regards to your father. As dusk sank behind the mansion, I walked slowly toward Willington. Father called for me, I asked. He answered evenly, you are here. No. Then who is this? His expression shifted so quickly that I stumbled over my words. Sorry, I managed. He slapped my shoulder, laughing heartily. I am only teasing you. Have worked hard. I offered a stiff smile. After he would put his face back into its serious mask, Willington asked, do you know why I summoned you? I guessed, to begin night training. He looked surprised by my answer. Yes, you are quicker now. It is time you learn the Rox family sword style. Willington's smile turned into a more solemn look as he addressed the Marquis more formally. But then he blinked at me. You want to talk about that? Yes, I said, and explained my intention. The expression on Willington's face shifted from surprise to open disbelief. What did you say? A ranged art. You want to learn ranged arts instead of the family sword. I answered firmly, yes. Willington lost his patience and barked, absolutely not. That is the cheap trick of thieves. With nothing but a dagger, you can't even pierce a knight's armor, let alone the scales of a low-ranked monster like a Balak. Do you understand? His rebuke hung in the air. I met it without flinching. Then we will bet on it. He snapped, what? I curled my lip with arrogant confidence. Let us see if I can take down a Balak with a dagger. If you are so sure, place the bet. By then it was late evening. In the vast, ornate chamber, Willington snorted coldly, stubborn and useless. A warrior's blade needs aura to cut through a Balak's scales. Even if you trained in ranged arts for 100 years, you would never pierce a Balak's scales. After Willington's analysis, Urin only smiled faintly. In that case you will win for sure, so go ahead and bet. His reply slid entirely outside Willington's expectations. The Marquis pointed at him and growled, bold and reckless. Fine, I will use this chance to break your stubbornness once and for all. What will you wager? If I manage to take down a Balak with a dagger, from then on I will handle my own training. If I fail, I will obey you. Urin answered. Night had fallen. Urin was back in his own chamber, clenching his hands in giddy anticipation. Good. Luckily Aaron has not reported everything about my training. Tomorrow will be the field test. He rubbed his chin and sighed, half amused, half curious. I wonder how many tries it will take to finally pierce a Balak's scales. Just to be safe, tonight I should consume a few more hidden poisonous herbs and push 10,000 Venom's divine power to its third stage. He was about to leave when a knock sounded. Aaron stepped in and announced, Young Master, I bring a message from the Marquis. The time is noon tomorrow. The place, Training Hall No. 1. Do you know the details of this wager? He asked. Aaron answered, not only I, the whole Marquis household knows. They are all laughing about it. His eyes widened. Laughing, her face clouded as she explained in a low voice, they are joking that when he sees the Balak the young master will wet himself from fear or flee. They are treating this as a spectacle. After all, the young master is still a joke to the household. Urin's skin prickled. Then they will be there tomorrow to watch. Aaron nodded, yes. The Marquis did not forbid it, so the hall will be packed. Urin propped his chin on his hand and exhaled, wry amusement in his voice, so I have become entertainment. What do you think? She bowed her head respectfully and replied, tomorrow might be your day, young master. That night the system pinged an important notification, 10,000 Venom's divine power has reached third form. The next morning at the field everyone had gathered long before the test began. Excited shouts ricocheted through the grounds. Urin stood in the rain, nerves pricking at him. It is crowded. Willington sat on his throne and said, all right, Urin, are you ready? Urin answered, yes. This is far too many people, Willington muttered, shrugging. I only intended to inform my mage, but somehow the news spread everywhere. Mind your reputation. At that, a silver-bearded elder in measured tones announced, begin. Close-range summoning spell. Amid the crowd's roaring cheers, Urin thought to himself, I can't believe I'm actually witnessing magic with my own eyes. A thunderous explosion echoed, and from within the rising veil of smoke, a monstrous silhouette gradually took form. Urin's eyes widened in disbelief. He was even more astonished when he recognized the creature, when he himself had once created through mere words as its author. The system display flickered before him. Balak, marine monster. Height, 1.5 meters. Everyone in the stands screamed in terror the moment the creature appeared. Panic spread like wildfire. That thing shouldn't even exist here. What the hell is that? That's disgusting. While the crowd recoiled in fear, Urin only observed calmly, thinking, so that's what it looks like. Huh? I actually came up with Balak on the spot while eating tuna sashimi at a restaurant. Totally out of ideas. If it didn't have those freakish limbs, it might even be kind of cute. Lost in thought, Urin didn't notice Balak charging at him. The monster's webbed fins cut through the air like blades. He jolted back to his senses, gasping and stumbling to move, just in time. The moment the enormous fin was about to strike his face, he twisted sharply, sliding behind the creature in a blur of motion. The spectators gaped in astonishment. Several guards began to rush in, but Willington raised a hand sharply. Hold your ground, he ordered, voice cold and steady. Balak spun around with a guttural roar, Having missed its target, Yurin exhaled, regaining his focus. It lunges straight for me without any warning, he thought. Still, it's not that fast. He flicked 2 fingers and pulled out a small, sharp dagger. First, let's test how thick those scales are. But as he took aim, something unexpected happened. A bright red target mark appeared on Balak's body. A new target? Right in front of me? He murmured under his breath. Ah, that must be its weak point. Let's see if this works. Yurin drew back his arm and hurled the dagger with all his strength toward the glowing mark. The blade hit dead on. Balak's entire body convulsed violently. The dagger buried deep in its flesh. Before the thousands of stunned onlookers, the monster collapsed lifelessly to the ground with a heavy thud. Yurin blinked, scratching his head in disbelief. It died? From just one throw? The entire arena fell silent. Mouths agape. Even Willington stood frozen, unable to believe what he had just witnessed. A few seconds later, the crowd erupted in wild cheers. Hurrah, he did it! The young master caught it. He's amazing. Yurin could only laugh awkwardly, rubbing his neck amid the thunderous applause, until his father's stern voice rose above the noise. Yurin, how in the world did you do that? Yurin chuckled sheepishly. I just aimed carefully and hit its weak spot. That's all. Willington's face darkened, his tone cold. I cannot accept that. What? Yurin blinked in confusion. The Marquise's expression grew pale, his voice trembling. Balak died from a single dagger strike? That's impossible. Yurin snorted. What? Is Marquis Dox going to go back on his word now? At that moment, an elderly man with snow-white hair stepped forward after inspecting the corpse. My lord, under Balak's left fin there are no scales. The young master's dagger pierced right through that spot. Willington seized on that. See? It was just luck. Yurin shot back. Luck or not, a bet's a bet. The Marquise's tone softened slightly. Yurin, don't be like this. One more round. Yurin sighed, turning away in disappointment. You're being unreasonable, father. Seeing his son walk off, Willington finally said, then I'll add one more condition to this wager. If you win again, I'll grant you any wish you desire. He paused, his tone turning steely. But if you lose, you'll study swordsmanship as originally planned. Yurin stopped dead in his tracks, eyes lighting up. Any wish I want? Really? Willington nodded firmly. However, this time, your opponent won't be a monster. It'll be a knight. There was a moment of silence. Then Willington asked, so, do you accept? Yurin nodded. Yes. All right, then I have no objections. Yurin's eyes hardened. This is an opportunity, he thought. Karax, captain of the Night Squad. This is the chance to break that bastard's pride. But if I want to keep getting poisons from Peru, maybe it's wiser to leave Karax alone for now. Willington's voice dropped low. Of course, facing a full-fledged knight would be too much for you. Pick a squire instead, that'll be fairer. Won't it? Yurin stared, incredulous. A squire? He straightened. May I choose which squire? Willington frowned. What? Who did you have in mind? Yurin answered without hesitation. I choose Kraid. A moment later, heavy, decisive footsteps approached. The squire Kraid came forward, respectfully clasping his hands. You summoned me, my lord? He said. Willington nodded. Indeed, I hear you've been training, reliable. That, Kraid, I have a task for you. Kraid's voice was steady. Yes, my lord, give me any order. Willington pointed forward slowly and ordered. That brat, teach him a lesson. Fix his bad habits. Kraid turned and met Yurin's gaze. Yurin smiled and waved at him. Kraid's eyes went wide. What? He blurted. Willington snapped. Why didn't you take initiative sooner? Kraid hurriedly bowed. No, sir, I will obey your command. Yurin had been standing there with a small smile, then spoke up to reassure everyone. Kraid, don't worry. I'll only throw 3 knives, 3 throws. If you block all 3, I'll concede. Hearing that only inflamed Willington's anger further, he ground his teeth and hissed at Kraid. Do you see? That arrogance, this time you must teach him properly. In short order the 2 men took their positions. The crowd's roar fueled Yurin's nerves. The watching knights hollered, Kraid, if you lose today, don't expect dinner. Another shouted, if you lose, you'll be running laps around the training ground. Over the din came a soft, encouraging voice that slipped into Yurin's ear. Young master, You can do it. Heat climbed Urin's cheeks. Wait, female voice? Whoever's cheering me on even a little gets me fired up, he thought. His concentration broke for a beat, and Kraid kindly called out, Young master, I'm ready. Urin snapped back to attention. Right. He smirked, reached for a small throwing knife, and thought to himself, let's start light, but then his pupils constricted. Target reticles, like the one that had appeared on the Balak, sprang up all over Kraid's body, dozens of them. Enough to make Urin uneasy. What the? Target markers, just like with Balak? There are so many. Does hitting any one of them kill him? I can't actually kill him. I'll just aim at his front. With that he flung the small knife straight at Kraid. The blade slammed into the parry of Kraid's sword with a thunderous clang. The impact sounded like a cannon blast. The force knocked Kraid back several steps. The knight in the stands murmured in surprise. What was that sound? It sounded like a cannon. Willington, equally stunned, could only stammer, no. The throwing knife skidded across the floor and rolled near him. Willington bent to pick it up, his face betraying utter disbelief. Unbelievable. A simple throwing dagger with that much power? After parrying one of Urin's blades, Kraid was breathing hard, his whole body trembling. Urin smiled and asked, Did that wake you up a bit? Do you understand you can't let your guard down? Get ready. This time I'll throw everything I've got. Sweat streamed from Kraid as he gripped his sword, eyes blazing with vigilance. Urin thought to himself, he's still a protagonist-level character, he won't die. And a conceited smile tugged at his lips. Here I come, direct aim. The technique flashed in his mind as he hurled the dagger at Kraid. A tremendous force coated the blade. Kraid planted his sword against his chest and poured everything into the block. But the instant steel met steel, a deafening crack exploded through the air, far louder than before, and the dust rose thick and choking. Urin stood there unmoved. The spectators gaped as the clouds slowly cleared. When the dust settled, they could see Urin standing proudly while Kraid had already collapsed to his knees. Kraid's sword lay snapped, reduced to little more than a hilt. He trembled and let the broken weapon drop. Willington's face still wore stunned disbelief. After a moment he stepped forward and said quietly, Urin, I want to speak with you in private. Urin's tone turned cold. Father, the wager isn't over yet, there's one more dagger. His words made Willington flinch. What? That's enough. Urin. Urin turned and looked at Kraid. Then asked him directly. Kraid raised his head as someone called his name and met Urin's gaze. Urin's voice snapped with steel. Are you going to end it like this? A man who wants to become a knight accepts a half-finished result. Kraid's eyes cleared as Urin's words hit him. He inhaled deeply and declared, Give me a new sword. I, Kraid, will not retreat like this. A powerful aura burst from him. The trainee knights around them were stunned into silence. Willington could only exclaim, A trainee knight has awakened aura. Urin examined Kraid's newly hardened stance and smiled with satisfaction. Just as predicted, Kraid's berserker warrior trait awakened when he was pushed to his limit. Now I can test some higher-level techniques. Aura surged endlessly from Kraid's body. His eyes sharpened with resolve as he spoke firmly, Young master, please throw it. Willington was still reeling in disbelief. Impossible. Such an enormous amount of aura. This level is on par with a high-ranking knight's talent. What are you planning, Urin? Hearing Kraid's determined tone, Urin nodded with satisfaction. Good. The dagger in his hand gleamed with light. As he shifted his stance, Urin murmured, Right now. He twisted his body and hurled the blade, but instead of flying in a straight path, it spun wildly in midair, tracing a chaotic spiral toward its target. Kraid froze for a split second, his eyes widening. What the hell, stop spinning already, he thought, then shouted furiously, Are you kidding me? He braced himself and swung his sword downward with all his might, but the dagger's erratic trajectory curved away at the last instant. What? He gasped. Willington's eyes went wide as realization struck him. No, he shouted, just as the dagger, after another spin, buried itself deep in Kraid's right shoulder. The blade sliced through layers of flesh, stopping just short of bone. Pain hit instantly. Kraid screamed, clutching his shoulder as he collapsed to his knees, groaning in agony. The trainee knights watching were thrown into confusion. What the hell? It was moving so slowly. One of them, not seeing Kraid rise, yelled angrily, Kraid, stop overacting. You are holding back because he is the young master, or not you. Urin frowned, thinking, I must have poured more internal energy into that throw than I meant to. That must have really hurt. Behind him, Willington spoke in a low but firm voice. Urine, we will talk later. You have already won this wager. Watching his father's retreating back, Urine allowed himself a faint smile. Kraid, still on the ground, gritted his teeth and clutched his bleeding shoulder. Then a gentle hand rested on the wound. Hold still, Kraid, Urine said softly. Internal energy flowed from Urine's palm into Kraid's body. Absorb internal energy, Urine commanded silently. Moments later, the pain began to subside. Kraid glanced at his shoulder in disbelief. The pain, it is gone. He looked up gratefully. Thank you, young master. Urine smiled. It is nothing serious. Kraid bowed respectfully, lowering his head. I owe you an apology. Urine blinked. Huh, Kraid explained earnestly, when the dagger moved so slowly at first, I thought you were mocking me. But no, it was a refined divine technique. There is no way you could have learned something that advanced on your own in such a short time. Which means, you have been hiding your true strength all along. The more Kraid said, the more bewildered Urine looked, managing only a confused huh, as the boy stepped closer and glanced around suspiciously. Then, covering his mouth, he whispered, Is there some secret organization targeting the Marquis family? So that is why you have kept your power hidden until now. At that, Urine's eyes widened slightly as realization dawned. Ah. Right. This guy's obsessed with conspiracy theories. But before he could say anything, Kraid went on excitedly, I used to wonder why you always seemed isolated from everyone. So that was your sacrifice, remarkable, young master. Urine could only stare blankly as the admiration in Kraid's eyes deepened. His voice grew firm with conviction. If you ever find yourself fighting against those secret organizations, please call upon me anytime. The system interface flickered before Urine's eyes. Affinity 26 favorable impression. Since when did this guy's affection level rise this much? Urine thought, lips twitching into an awkward grin. All right then, he said finally, amused. See you around, Kraid. In Urine's mind, a quiet thought surfaced, well, Bo-Soko warriors tend to have pretty simple personalities anyway. That is not such a bad thing, is it? Kraid called out behind him, his voice loud and sincere. Believe me, our young master has never been a scoundrel. I will make sure everyone knows that. Hearing that, Urine could only sigh, turning away as he muttered to himself, still, it will be useful to stay close to him. A Bo-Soko like Kraid could one day wipe out an entire night order single-handedly. When he looked ahead, he spotted Erin waiting by the doorway. She nodded slightly. You have worked hard, my lord. Urine smiled politely. Thank you. They walked side by side along the corridor back toward the manor's main hall. Erin spoke up, her voice calm and steady. That was the first time I have seen that throwing technique. Urine glanced over at her. It is a new one. What did you think? Her expression remained composed, her tone analytical. The moment I saw it, I visualized a simulated battle in my mind. If I had faced it for the first time in a real fight, I would have lost. But now that I have seen it once, I believe I can counter it. She strode a few steps ahead, and Urine's eyes followed her back thoughtfully. She is not bluffing, he thought. Among her traits, clear mind is both rare and powerful. The system already gave me her data beforehand. Traits, quick sword level 2. Clear mind level 1. Aura adaptation level 1. Affection, 28 favorable. After a few moments of silence, Urine spoke. Erin, you were trained as a knight from childhood. If you had not become my attendant, you would probably already be a knight by now. So I want to ask, are you satisfied with where you are? Erin turned toward him, startled. What? Why do you suddenly ask that? A few hours later, inside the Grand Rocks family estate, Willington stood in his lavish study, leaning over a stack of documents. He flipped through them again and again before letting out a long, weary sigh. The door creaked open, then shut softly. Urine stepped in. You called for me, sir. At the sight of him, Willington's brows knitted together, and he barked sharply. You brat, when it is just the two of us, call me father, keep this up and you will make us feel like strangers. Caught off guard, Urine blinked. Ah. Yes, father. Willington did not bother to scold further. His tone shifted to one of curiosity. Now then, what was that technique yesterday? I searched through every manual and could not find a single throwing style with such fluid control. It has only been a month since you began training. Even for a prodigy, Mastering something that complex in such a short time is impossible. So tell me the truth, what really happened. Yurin only smiled faintly, thinking to himself, I can't tell him the truth. But I already prepared an excuse, since I knew this would come up sooner or later. Aloud, he replied calmly, I found a book. A book, Willington repeated, frowning. Yes, Yurin said. I was going through the family library in the attic, looking for ways to improve my training efficiency. I remember I was wandering the aisles when my foot suddenly tripped over something, and I fell backward. He gritted his teeth in mock irritation. Who leaves books lying on the floor like that? Continuing the story, Yurin said, then, another book fell from the top shelf. It did not have any title on the cover, just strange engravings. Without thinking much, I opened it. The book began to glow, and then something flowed into my head. The next thing I knew, it vanished. Willington's eyes widened in shock. That means it was a magic tome. Yurin's faint smile seemed to confirm it. Of course I know what a magic tome is, he thought. I designed the concept myself. In this world, mages can imprint their spells or techniques into a book, turning it into a magic tome for others to inherit. After a long pause, Willington spoke gravely. Yes, that makes sense. A magic tome can do that. The attic library is full of volumes collected by our ancestors. Even I do not know what is hidden up there. You finding one is a tremendous stroke of luck. Hearing that, Yurin grinned broadly and pointed at himself. Then let us just say I hit the jackpot. Willington nodded. All right, fair enough. I will keep my word. I won't force you to train in swordsmanship anymore. Now, he continued, according to our earlier agreement, tell me what it is you want. Without hesitation, Yurin answered, his voice steady and resolute. Father, I want the position of heir. I want to be the successor. Willington's mouth fell open in stunned disbelief, unable to form a response. Seeing his father's reaction, Yurin spoke with faint disappointment. If I say that, then you won't approve, will you, father? Willington hesitated. That is within my authority. So I could grant it if I wished. Yurin let out a soft, knowing chuckle. Then why does your face look so conflicted? Willington coughed awkwardly, clearly caught off guard by his son's perceptiveness. Yurin went on calmly, if I were to become the heir, I imagine it would cause quite a bit of trouble for you. Within the Marquis household, there must be plenty who oppose me, especially the madam, who would make a huge fuss over it. Willington cleared his throat and glanced away, refusing to respond. Yurin offered lightly, then this time, I will make a concession. The old Marquise's face instantly brightened. Truly, thank you, my son. Yurin narrowed his eyes with a faint grin, hiding his thoughts. Truth is, I have never cared about being heir. Becoming one would only mean being locked away with the Marquis, buried under endless affairs of governance, a life without freedom. I would rather spend that time mastering the four venoms arts and traveling the world in search of greater opportunities. After a brief silence, Willington spoke in a serious tone, then state another wish. Yurin replied, very well. What I truly wish for is to form my own order of knights. The Marquis blinked, taken aback. Your own order? Yurin nodded firmly. Yes. I want Aaron, who currently serves as my steward, and Kraid, the one who fought me yesterday, to become knights under my command. Willington nodded thoughtfully. That is far easier than naming you heir. Aaron does have remarkable talent, she is far too capable to remain a mere steward. Very well, let us proceed with that. Yurin bowed deeply. Thank you, father. At that, Willington rubbed his chin as if another thought occurred to him. But what about your steward, then? None of the current ones are available. Yurin quickly responded, there is a man named Peru working in the kitchens. I want him as my steward, but it would be best if you appointed him by chance, rather than at my request. Willington's brow furrowed. Is there something I should know? Yurin's tone softened. I will explain later. Though still puzzled, Willington eventually nodded. Very well, I understand. Yurin smiled faintly. It seemed the Marquis trusted him enough not to press further. Affinity has increased to 74, trust level achieved. He thought with mild amusement, surprised at how much goodwill he had earned. So this is the difference between being a son and an outsider. That very same day, the people Yurin had requested were officially reassigned under his command. Standing before them, he spoke in a firm tone. From today onward, you two are members of my personal knight order. Train diligently from this moment on. Now, greet Peru, your new steward. Peru bowed awkwardly. I look forward to serving you. Erin, however, remained silent, her face shadowed with melancholy as she recalled their earlier conversation. After receiving orders from Willington, Erin had immediately sought Urin out for answers. I have a question, she said. Urin tilted his head. What is it? Erin asked directly. You mentioned Peru, he is to replace me as steward, why? Urin scratched his head, answering casually, because he is a spy. Her eyes widened in shock. What? He went on, almost amused. He is a spy sent by Knight Captain Karax and Lady Kana to assassinate me. Erin's face paled, and she protested sharply, no, if that is true, why would you keep him near you, let alone make him your steward? Urin nonchalantly picked at his nose, grinning slyly. It is fine. He only listens to me now. Erin sighed deeply at that smug, mischievous face of his. Just then, Kraid, who had been standing nearby, spoke up. Young master, I have a question as well. Urin placed his hands on his hips with a teasing grin. Good questions are always welcome. Go on. Kraid asked earnestly, even though there are only 2 of us right now, since we are officially called a Knight Order, should not we at least have one senior knight? But a senior knight has to be someone of exceptional skill. And this person, he glanced at Erin, looks rather small and frail, not exactly formidable. Before his enthusiasm could go any further, Urin nodded with a half-smile and interrupted, you are right. The stronger one will be promoted as the senior knight. So why do not you 2 duel right now? Kraid blinked, stunned. What? Moments later, his disbelief was written all over his face as he found himself flat on the ground, Erin's blade resting coldly against his neck. He immediately raised his hands in surrender. I yield. Looking down from above, Erin's expression was composed and sharp. Your attacks are far too predictable, she said coolly. You need to work on your movements so your opponent can't read your next strike before you even make it. The glint of her sword made cold sweat drip down Kraid's back. Why yes, I will remember that, he replied quickly. Erin sheathed her sword in one smooth motion. Only then did Urin speak. Good. Then from now on, the captain of this Knight Order will be Erin. A small cheer broke out. The others clapped in celebration, and Erin blushed, clearly embarrassed by the sudden attention. The sun was already sinking low on the horizon when Peru finally spoke up. It is getting late. I will go prepare dinner. Urin nodded. All right. As Peru's figure disappeared into the distance, Urin's eyes narrowed with quiet amusement. Perfect. Even from here, I can still sense his aura. Let us test this new technique. He steadied his breathing, channeling his internal energy to form sound waves that carried his voice directly into another's mind, a skill known as secret voice transmission, a staple of martial arts legends. Secret voice transmission. Peru. The moment the telepathic voice echoed inside his head, Peru froze mid-step. He spun around in shock. Why yes, young master, he called out, but there was no one behind him. Then the voice came again, clear and teasing inside his mind. Peru, Peru. Why so jumpy? Panicking, the man clutched his head, muttering, what kind of dark sorcery is this? The voice chuckled softly. Dark sorcery, let us just call it a form of magical communication. Peru bowed instinctively toward the empty air, his voice trembling. As I thought. You are unaffected by poison. I have heard of dark mages who can control venom through magic. So, young master, you must be one of them. From afar, Urin blinked, slightly surprised. Sure, think of it that way if it helps. Anyway, is the poison I asked for ready yet? Peru flinched as if struck. Why yes, the heart scorpion venom, a deadly toxin refined from 100 species of vipers. It took me great effort to prepare it. Urin's lips curled into a sly smile as he licked them. Excellent. Then mix plenty of it into the chirain soup I will be eating tonight. Peru went pale. Why yes, understood, he stammered, and bolted toward the kitchen in a panic. Night fell, and the next dawn's light slowly rose over the Marquise's estate. Urin sat cross-legged in meditation, eyes closed, until he finally exhaled and opened them. Since reaching the 3rd form of the 10,000 Venoms divine art, my internal energy has not been growing as fast as I expected. I wonder how much time remains before the world faces its calamity. His gaze hardened with resolve. Either way, I have no choice left. It is time to leave the Marquise's castle. That day, Urin came to his father's chamber and announced casually, I am heading out for a bit. Willington raised a brow. Heading out, it has been quite some time since you last went outside. Are you planning to visit the town within the Marquise's territory? Urin nodded. Yes. And how many days will you be gone? Willington asked. Urin gave an awkward smile, avoiding the question. Truth is, I am going much farther than that, he thought, but there is no need to reveal it. Out loud, he replied, probably about a week. Willington hesitated. A week, yes, I have been training diligently. I will be fine, Urin replied. And what about the escort? His father pressed. The moment the word escort came up, Urin's eyes gleamed. There it is. He spoke slowly, I do not really need an escort. What? Willington exclaimed, eyes wide. Absolutely not, be mindful of your position, you are the heir of the Rox family. Urin quickly tried to soothe him. It is just a nearby village, father. I do not need protection for something like that. Willington's temper flared. You have no idea how dangerous the world is, even if you have gotten stronger from training, what if you are poisoned out there? Urin froze, speechless, muttering inwardly, poison does not affect me, though. But convincing him is going to be impossible. Guess I will move on to plan B. He bowed slightly. You are right, father. I will do as you say. Willington sighed in relief. Good. So, when are you leaving? I will depart in 2 days. Fine. I will arrange an escort team right away. Later, standing alone in his spacious room, Urin smirked slyly. Escort team, please. I will just slip out tomorrow morning. Evening descended, and as he buttoned up his coat, a startled voice called from behind him, Peru. What? I do not have any travel money, Urin said matter-of-factly. Lend me some. You still have the funds Karax gave you for buying those expensive poisons, do not you? Peru's mouth fell open as he stammered, well, that. Urin's face darkened, his tone turning icy. What, you do not want to lend it? Cold sweat trickled down Peru's temple, he forced a shaky smile. Oh, of course I do, it is an honor. I will bring it right away. Urin nodded, satisfied, but added, you still have that thing, do not you? That thing. The spatial pouch, Urin clarified. I saw you carrying it when you gathered those poisonous herbs. A spatial pouch, something that shows up in a lot of fantasy novels, is a mystical bag that can hold up to a ton of goods in a tiny space. Convenient, is not it? Peru blinked, then reluctantly nodded. Yes, I will lend it to you. Perfect, Urin grinned. Saves me the trouble of carrying extra bags. Oh, right here, take this. He opened his palm, revealing a small green clump that looked like dried leaves pressed together. An antidote, he said. It will last you a month. Peru's eyes widened in awe as he accepted it. An antidote. Urin smiled gently. You have been useful, Peru. Keep it up, and when the time comes, I will give you the complete antidote. Just hearing that made Peru's entire face light up. Truly, thank you, young master. The next morning, Urin stood by his window, gazing out at the pale dawn. I have left the letter behind. Everything's ready. Time to sneak out quietly. Just as I thought, no one's around at this hour. He tiptoed through the courtyard, but then a familiar voice called out from behind him, Good morning, young master, you are up early today. It was the old gardener. Urin froze mid-step, his expression stiffening. Ah. Why yeah, he muttered, forcing an awkward laugh to cover his tracks. Then, a strange feeling rose in Urin's chest. Something about the old gardener who looked so harmless and kind felt off. A faint pulse of unfamiliar energy emanated from him. What is that? The eye of creation? Urin blinked in disbelief, then immediately shook the thought away. No, that is ridiculous. He pushed the uneasy feeling aside and continued walking away from the Marquise's mansion. As his boots clicked against the marble floor, he muttered under his breath, This is the first time I have ever left the Marquise's castle. Suddenly, his steps halted. In the distance stood a towering structure bathed in morning light. So that is the magic tower, he whispered. Entering through the grand doors, he found a neatly dressed receptionist sitting behind a counter at the center of the hall. The man smiled politely as Urin approached. Good day, sir. How may I help you? I want to use a teleportation service, Urin replied. The receptionist tilted his head. I see. Have you ever used teleportation before? Urin blinked in confusion. No. Never. The young man smiled helpfully. Understood. Just so you know, we also offer a reward point system for our valued users. Yurin froze for a second, then chuckled awkwardly as realization hit. Ah, right. I modeled this after an airline mileage program. The receptionist glanced up at him. And where would you like to go, sir? The AAS castle, Yurin answered. The man scribbled something down on a sheet of parchment. That is quite far. Understood. The fee will be 50 gold coins. Please sign here to confirm the transaction. Yurin grimaced inwardly as he picked up the pen and signed the travel slip. 50 gold, that is steep. Good thing Peru's loaded. I will just use a fake name Polion. The same one I used back when I played online games. Once the paperwork was done, the receptionist stepped out from behind the counter and gestured politely. All set, Mr. Polion. Please follow me. Yurin nodded. All right. They climbed a spiraling staircase until they reached a small chamber. The receptionist pointed toward it. Please step inside this room. When you hear a knock on the door, that means you have arrived at your destination. Yurin took a deep breath and entered. The room was quiet, glowing faintly with runic symbols on the walls. He glanced around and murmured, so this is the teleportation chamber, huh? The sky outside still looks perfectly clear. Suddenly, a blinding flash of lightning struck the tower's peak, shaking the room with a low rumble. Moments later, a knock echoed from the door, drawing his attention. A man opened it slightly and announced, "You have arrived, sir. Please step out." Yurin blinked in confusion. Huh. The man squinted with a genial smile. Welcome to AAS Castle. What, I have already arrived, but... I did not feel anything, Yurin said, utterly bewildered. The man laughed heartily. That is the pride of our magic tower, the smoothest teleportation experience you will ever have. Teleportation experience, Yurin repeated, stunned. Wait a second. Did I set it to teleportation experience instead of horse riding experience? Before he could think further, the man pressed a hand against the wooden door ahead. Well then, sir, we wish you a pleasant journey and hope you will use our services again in the future. As the door swung open, Yurin was greeted by the bustling scene of a crowded plaza. People hurried to and fro, voices overlapping in a lively hum so different from the solemn stillness of the Marquise's castle. He thought to himself, so this is AAS Castle. Unlike the Marquise's territory in the east, this place lies to the west, and the architecture here is slightly different. It is a lot more crowded, too. First things first, he muttered. I need to find the blacksmith's alley. Yurin stopped an older man on the street and asked for directions. The man, kind and patient, pointed down a narrow path. That way. Following the directions, Yurin made his way through a dim, deserted alley. The further he went, the narrower it became. Not a soul in sight. He glanced around and sighed. I have been searching for a while and still have not found the Unicorn Forge. The sun's already setting. This is the last alley left. From a nearby building came the sharp clang of metal. Someone was hammering a blade against an anvil, the sound echoing across the courtyard. Yurin approached slowly. Is anyone there? The man at the anvil paused, turned, and replied, yes. Are you a customer? Yurin nodded. That is right. I wanted to ask around here, is there a forge called the Unicorn Forge? The young blacksmith blinked in surprise. Unicorn Forge, as far as I know, there is no forge by that name around here. Yurin's eyes widened. What, damn it, did I come to the wrong place? Just as frustration began to settle in, the blacksmith smiled faintly and said, but that is actually the name I have been planning to use for my shop. Yurin's eyes widened as he muttered under his breath, Eye of Creation. Instantly, a glowing status window appeared before him. Name, Giranox. Traits, Artifact Forging, Fire Affinity Level 3, Mind Focus Level 2, Precision Level 2. Yurin's attention immediately locked onto the Artifact Forging trait. His lips curved upward in delight. Looks like I have finally found the right person. He asked casually, mind if I take a look at the weapons you are selling? Yes, of course, Giranox replied, still a bit startled. Ah, right. Please, this way. Yurin followed him deeper inside the forge. The air was thick with the metallic scent of heated steel and oil. As he looked around, his gaze swept over the walls lined with swords and blades of all shapes. How's business been? He asked. Giranox blinked, confused. Excuse me. Then, scratching his cheek, the young blacksmith admitted sheepishly. Well, since the shop's tucked away in a corner and my skills are not exactly top-notch yet, customers usually just take a glance and leave. I am not sure how much longer I can keep this place running. But when Yurin studied the swords more closely, a spark of intrigue flashed in his eyes. Interesting. These weapons are not ordinary at all. He spoke aloud, almost as if reading from an invisible script. All these blades here, these are wind-spirit swords, are not they, blessed by wind elementals who favor passionate smiths that persevere through ridicule and hardship. Their blessing grants increased attack speed, movement speed, and agility. He turned his gaze toward another weapon. And that one down there, that is a fire spirit greatsword, blessed by a salamander. The flame elemental must have been moved by the blacksmith's dedication and inscribed its own blessing upon it. The effects include enhanced strength, endurance, and durability. Jirinox scratched the back of his head, embarrassed but clearly proud. That is right. Though, after I finished forging them, they turned out to be defective. What? Yurin blurted out, genuinely surprised. Grinning awkwardly, Jirinox explained, yeah. Once they are done, the swords become ridiculously heavy. Even people with great strength can't lift them properly, so nobody buys them. Yurin fell silent, eyes narrowing thoughtfully. No. It is not that they are defective. It is because those who tried to wield them were not qualified. If someone worthy held these blades, they would awaken their true power. This guy does not even realize his own potential. After a pause, Yurin pointed to a few weapons. I will take this one. And that one. Jirinox's jaw dropped. What? But those are the defective ones. Yurin stroked his chin with amusement. I might give them to Aaron and Kraid. They are not quite the relics I am after, though. Do you happen to have any rusty weapons lying around? Rusty weapons, Jirinox repeated in disbelief. That is a strange request. Still, he rummaged through the back and brought out a small chest. I gathered these to sell cheap later since no one would buy them anyway. The moment Yurin's fingers brushed against the rusty blades, his eyes gleamed. Just as I thought. This is exactly what I set up. Noticing the one Yurin was holding, Jirinox quickly said, that one's not mine, actually. I have got no idea where it came from, it just appeared in my storage one day. I was about to throw it out but decided to keep it for some reason. I will take this one, Yurin said firmly. Huh, Jirinox blinked, completely thrown off. Then he chuckled, holding up 2 fingers. Well, if you are buying all the defective stuff, just give me 2 gold coins. I will even throw in a dagger for free. Yurin could not help the sly grin tugging at his lips. A bargain like this, if the true nature of these weapons ever comes to light, even 200 gold each would not be enough. And not just the weapons, the blacksmith himself is invaluable. He straightened, meeting Jirinox's gaze. You mentioned your business has been tough. Have you ever considered closing the shop and working exclusively for me instead? Jirinox froze, clearly startled, though a smile soon spread across his face. Wow. That is sudden. I mean, I have thought about shutting this place down before, but hearing it like that, honestly, I did not expect such an offer. Yurin spoke again, his tone calm yet full of pride. Then allow me to introduce myself first. I am the indomitable spear that guards the South Yurin of House Rocks. The color drained from Jirinox's face in an instant. The Marquis House of Rocks. He exclaimed, eyes wide with disbelief. My lord, please forgive my insolence. Before Yurin could react, the young blacksmith dropped to his knees and bowed deeply. Completely flustered, Yurin bent down to help him up. Please, stand up, he urged. But Jirinox quickly shook his head. No, it is fine this way. I am more comfortable like this. Please, speak freely, my lord. Yurin could only give a helpless smile. All right then. But I would prefer you to stand. Internally, he sighed. As expected, there is no escaping the feudal class system of this world. Jirinox, still kneeling, frowned in confusion. But why would someone like you want to hire a mediocre blacksmith like me? Yurin extended a hand toward him, his voice firm and sincere. Because you are talented. Talented, Jirinox blinked, utterly perplexed. No way. I do not have any talent. That is why my master scolds me every single day. Yurin tilted his head slightly. I do not know who his master is, but it sounds like the man trains his students harshly. He said thoughtfully, I have visited many forges today and examined countless weapons, but yours. Yours feel different. Different, Jiranox echoed. Yes, Yurin replied. Your craftsmanship shows care. Your swords are excellent, especially the way you have wrapped the hilts meticulously and with precision. The hilt's design prevents slipping during battle. That kind of attention to detail is rare. I believe you will one day bloom into an extraordinary craftsman and your skills will shine far beyond what they are now. Jiranox fell silent. Yurin, uncertain, wondered to himself, did that actually help? Maybe I said too much. But moments later, the young man lifted his head and said something that made Yurin's heart leap. I will follow you, my lord. But you are not like the rumors say. Yurin rolled his eyes slightly, amused yet exasperated. Ah, those ridiculous rumors again. Fine, then let me show you something interesting. Show me something, Jiranox asked, puzzled. Without answering, Yurin picked up a dagger from the table. He pricked the tip of his finger, letting a bead of blood fall onto the blade, then lifted it high. Awaken, he commanded. A flash of light erupted. The dagger suddenly floated in midair, engulfed in a violent surge of radiant energy that crackled and hummed through the forge. Jiranox gasped. What in the world is that? Yurin's expression turned calm and confident. This is a legendary sword spirit. Originally, it was meant to belong to the story's protagonist, he thought silently, his eyes reflecting the weapon's glow. Then, the system interface appeared before him. Do you wish to form a soul contract with Ednis? Yes, Yurin answered without hesitation. At once, the dagger exploded into fragments of light. A strange yellow slime-like substance formed in midair, swirling around the suspended shards as it absorbed spiritual energy. A rough, guttural voice suddenly spoke. You do not understand a damn thing. Yurin froze. Wait, what? It is supposed to have the voice of a cute girl, not whatever this is. The dagger spirit roared. Who are you to dare form a contract with me? Excuse me, Yurin asked blankly. You heard me, the entity snarled. You have no talent whatsoever. Yurin gave a bitter laugh and wondered to himself. Is this thing disappointed because it can't sense any mana from me? But before he could say more, the dagger went on grumbling in an annoyed tone. I do not get it. How could some nobody like you possibly form a pact with me? Yurin assessed calmly. Definitely not the cute troublemaker voice I was expecting. But then the dagger added, whatever. How did you even find where I was sealed and the spell to unbind me? Yurin replied carefully. I heard it from the great sage Kai. He recalled how the great sage Kai was just a background element he would add to the story to make his world-building feel more believable. The dagger's voice suddenly rose, filled with disbelief. Impossible. Why would the great sage Kai ever tell a useless mortal like you? Wait, do not tell me you actually know my power. Yurin smiled and said, of course I do. Then, thinking to himself, because I am the one who wrote this setting, obviously. He recited in his mind the lore he had created. Ednis can divide into two entities, the main body and an avatar. It functions like a shape-shifting weapon, capable of transforming into any form the wielder imagines. In the original story, the protagonist used it as both a sword and a shield. Even when the avatar disappears, it always returns to the main body. But the dagger was not done talking. Then you also know you can't use me, right? I can only be wielded through mana. You should just give up. At that, Yurin's expression stiffened for a moment. Then he pointed at the dagger and said dryly, you are noisy. Internally, he thought, I can always just keep it in ring form, like this. The dagger suddenly started screaming. No, what is happening? What is this warm energy? I feel like I am melting. Yurin smiled faintly and thought, good thing martial power can substitute for mana. Then he turned toward Jiranox and spoke in a composed tone, now then, Jiranox. Yes, sir, the young blacksmith answered immediately. How long will it take for you to clean this place up? Jiranox thought for a moment before replying earnestly, I think 2 days should be enough. Then we will meet again in 2 days. By noon, at the central back in front of Aas Castle, Yurin had already left Jiranox's forge. As he was walking down the street, a voice suddenly called out behind him, wait, who are you? What are you doing here? To his surprise, it was Ilya. Running into her like this, right out in public, made Yurin freeze for a split second. Yurin stiffened in surprise, his thoughts racing. Ilya, why is she here? Wait a second. This scene in front of the central back, it feels familiar. Do not tell me this is the moment Ilya calls out to Yurin. His mind spun as he realized, this is exactly the scene where the protagonist meets Ilya for the first time in the original story. Then Ilya's clear voice rang out, "Hey, you Urine or whatever your name is," that snapped him out of his thoughts. "Ah, sorry," he replied awkwardly. Inside, he murmured to himself, something about the flow of the story has changed. Ilya dismounted her horse, frowning as she approached. I asked, "What are you doing here?" Urine could only force a smile. "Just looking for a blacksmith." "A blacksmith," Ilya repeated, even more confused. "But the Rox family already employs plenty of blacksmiths." "That is true," Urine admitted, "but I prefer to work with someone of my own choosing." Her eyes lit up with sudden interest. "If you had told me earlier, I could have helped you with that." He scratched his cheek and smiled again, a bit sheepish. "It is fine. I have already found someone good. He is on his way right now." Right on cue, Girinox came running from a distance, panting heavily. "Master Urine, have you been waiting long?" "Not at all," Urine replied smoothly. "You are right on time. This is my fiancé." Before anyone could respond, a sharp voice interrupted them. "Captain, we are about to depart." "Who is that man?" The one approaching was Musk Malin, captain of the 5th Night Division of House Marcus. Ilya immediately introduced him. "Musk, this is my fiancé." At the mention of Urine's name, Musk's face went pale. "Urine, as in Lord Urine of House Rox. I can't believe the young heir of the Rox family is here of all places." "I am Musk Malin, captain of the 5th Iron Cavalry under House Marcus," he added stiffly. Urine simply smiled in return. "A pleasure to meet you." Inwardly, though, he was unimpressed. "I do not need his full resume. I wrote this guy myself." A background character with a personality rating of 20 out of 100, tops. He recalled the original setup of the novel vividly. Here's how it was supposed to go. A villager blocks Musk's path as the knights are leaving. Musk shouts, "Hey, move or die." The terrified villager apologizes and pulls his son aside. Then the protagonist steps out. Musk, confused, demands, "Who the hell are you?" A brawl breaks out. Ilya appears just in time to stop the fight, yelling, "That is enough," and that is when her fateful connection with the hero begins. They end up fighting side by side, and the hero saves her from certain death. But now, Urine realized grimly, there is no hero to take his place. I can't just summon the protagonist back into the script. If I do not step in, Ilya might actually die this time. Determined, he spoke up. "Hey, Ilya. Where are you headed?" She replied honestly, "There have been multiple orc attacks around AAS Castle lately. Our order has been tasked with scouting and exterminating them." Urine did not answer immediately. He stroked his chin, deep in thought. After a pause, he said, "Ilya, I have a favor to ask." She turned to him, curious. I want to come with you." His tone was calm but firm. Ilya blinked, frowning. "What? Why would you want to come along?" He extended his hand toward her, his voice earnest. "Because I am training too. I want to gain real combat experience and I would like to see your skills firsthand." Her expression remained guarded. It could get dangerous. Urine just laughed lightly. "That is fine. I may not look like it, but I am really good at running away." For a moment, Ilya could only stare at him, at a loss for words. Then, with a resigned sigh, she turned to Musk Malin. "All right, Musk. Get him a horse." The man gaped in disbelief. "What, Captain, we are not out here for a stroll. Even if they are just orcs, we can't afford to be careless, especially when I can't sense even the faintest trace of mana from those two. We are not obligated, nor do we have the time, to babysit them." But before he could finish his complaint, Ilya's commanding voice cut through sharply. "Musk, that is an order. Just do as I say and stop whining." Seeing how serious she was, Musk Malin could only turn away with a huff. "Fine. I will prepare it right away. But if you are going to get this worked up over it, maybe I should be the one giving the orders." He muttered under his breath, shooting Urine a venomous glare as he stomped off. Urine did not bother replying. He simply smiled faintly and turned back to Ilya. A short while later, the two of them rode out toward the city gates. Before they departed, Ilya gave one final warning. "Urine, remember this is dangerous. Stay close to me at all times." Holding the reins firmly, he nodded with a light-hearted grin. "Got it." Behind him, Girinox clung tightly to the saddle and answered dutifully, "Yes, young master." Their horses neighed loudly before charging out of the gates, hooves pounding against the cobblestone. It was not long before they reached the outskirts of the city, where Ilya gathered her knights and began issuing orders. We will split into groups of 5 and search for the orcs' den. If you find them, do not engage. Fall back immediately and fire a signal flare. Understood, then let us move. We will take this direction. Her horse kicked up dust as the group rode swiftly into the nearby forest. By late afternoon, the sky had begun to dim. The soldiers' faces grew tense. One of them called out, "Captain, the tracks are all over the place, it is hard to follow them. The sun's setting soon. What should we do?" Ilya scanned the darkening woods carefully before answering. "We will have to call it for today. We are heading back." But before she could finish, a sudden whoosh echoed through the air. Someone shouted, "That is a signal flare, Captain, over there," and another one, "Look, on the other side too." More voices joined in as they pointed in different directions. "There is another, that makes 5 signals total." Urin frowned slightly. "No, that is 4. Can't they count?" Ilya's expression tightened as she yanked her reins. "Head toward the nearest one to the west," she commanded. The unit spurred their horses forward, galloping at full speed. When they arrived, Ilya's face froze. "No. The soldiers, they are all dead." The others were horrified. "Dear God. Their armors melted, what kind of attack could do this?" Ilya clenched her jaw, quickly regaining focus. "Move to the southern signal now." Once again, they rode hard, the tension thickening with every passing second. But when they reached the next site, Ilya stopped dead in her tracks once more. Before her lay another group of fallen soldiers, an entire unit wiped out. "Captain," one of the knights said urgently, "we need to move to the next location immediately." Ilya barely managed a breathless right before Urin suddenly cut in. "No. We should not move any further." Ilya spun toward him, startled. What do you mean?" Urin declared firmly, "The orcs over there are spreading out, cutting down our soldiers one by one. There is no way we can win under these circumstances. We need to halt the march and fire signal flares to regroup everyone here." But one soldier snapped back angrily, "Shut up, what do you even know to butt in like that? Is not this whole mess because of troublemakers like you?" Urin did not answer, though a thought flickered through his mind. Right. The protagonist in the original story got chewed out here too. And I even got flamed by readers for writing that scene, they said it pissed them off. Now I am the one with PTSD. The soldier kept yelling. "If you do not know a damn thing about combat, then do us all a favor and—" Before he could finish, Urin raised his hand sharply. "Be quiet." The soldier froze, his words dying in his throat. A heartbeat later, he collapsed in a faint. Ilya's voice broke the silence. "No, Urin." But he did not reply. After a moment, he spoke in a cold, measured tone. "Know your place." "Understood." The soldier, trembling, stammered, "Why yes, sir. I understand." Urin then extended a hand and said, "Watch closely." But instead of addressing the soldier, he turned toward his fiancée. Ilya. In the original story, she did not listen to the protagonist. She stubbornly stuck to her own plan. But what about now? There was a trace of genuine concern in his voice when he added, "Think carefully before you decide." Ilya said nothing at first. She seemed to be weighing his words. Finally, she spoke. "You are right. I can't assess the situation calmly right now. Fire the blue flare immediately, gather every unit back here." The soldiers obeyed at once. A flare shot into the sky, followed by another moments later. When it was done, everyone dismounted, bowing their heads briefly for the fallen. Then Girinox came jogging up, grinning. "That was brilliant, young master." "Huh," Urin blinked, caught off guard. "You made them all act according to your plan," Girinox said proudly. Urin smiled lightly. "It is nothing." Then, "The others will be regrouping here soon, right?" the boy asked hopefully. Urin hesitated. Well, that hesitation made Girinox pale. What do you mean by that?" Urin's eyes drifted to the side. "Most of them probably won't make it in time," he said quietly. "Karuta. That bastard must have already circled around and wiped them out." The color drained completely from Girinox's face. "Then, young master, what are we waiting for?" Urin's lips curved into a faint smile. "The real battle begins now. From the distance came the sound of frantic footsteps. A soldier sprinted toward them, gasping for breath, shouting, "Captain, run, we have to run now." Seeing that it was one of her own men, Ilya's face went pale. "What did you say?" The soldier collapsed to his knees, then turned to glance over his shoulder. Behind him, a swarm of monstrous figures surged into view, massive, savage orcs with gleaming tusks and bloodlust in their eyes. Ilya froze in horror. Even the soldier beside her could not help but whisper, "There is too many of them." Ilya turned toward Urin, her voice trembling. "I am sorry, Urin. You are going to die because of me." But he only smiled back. "It is fine. We are not dying here." As he took a few steps forward, Ilya called after him in panic, "Urin, what are you?" When he was nearly face to face with the advancing horde, Urin shouted, "Let us test that technique we practiced for the past 2 days. Create black iron bullets using the clone." The moment he finished speaking, a bullet materialized in his hand. "I gained this technique when I reached third form of the 10,000 Venom's divine power, but I have never had the chance to test it. Black Iron Burst, Level 1. Release a poisoned blast by channeling internal energy into black iron bullets and detonating them. This jinx requires black iron bullets." Immediately he flicked the projectile and shouted, "Block it." The bullet streaked toward the orc like a tiny star, but an orc's pike intercepted it in mid-flight. The horde instantly erupted in derisive laughs until, without warning, a huge explosion ripped through their ranks. It grew bigger and more devastating by the second. In the blink of an eye, the orcs were blown apart. Urin stood motionless while the shockwave died away. He called, "Return Black Iron Burst." The bullet reappeared in his palm. "The return function of Ednis's clones synergizes perfectly with my technique," he thought. The surviving orcs, enraged at seeing their comrades obliterated, bellowed and charged, but Urin did not hesitate. He hurled another bullet. Boom, another explosion. Ilya spun around, stunned. "What was that? What did you just throw?" she asked. He smiled and replied, "It is called a black iron burst. I will explain the details later. For now, I have already taken out a large number of orcs." Ilya's mouth fell open in astonishment. Then she turned to the troops. "What are you waiting for? Look, this is our chance. We can win this. Finish off the remaining orcs," she ordered. At once they surged forward, slashing into the scattered enemies. Ilya felled one. 2 other soldiers took another down. One orc, seeing its comrades decimated, froze in terror. As it turned to flee, it ran smack into a wall of muscle. When it looked up, it was petrified. A colossal figure had seized the lesser orc by the face. The others turned at the commotion, and Ilya gasped, "What in God's name, that thing's enormous." Over there, a gigantic orc towered, crushing the cowardly one in its grasp. Urin did not answer aloud, but inside he was exultant. Finally he is here. The legendary orc warrior Karuda. If we do not take him down today, we are all dead. Karuda straightened up and let out a thunderous roar, the force of it whipping up a violent gust that threatened to push everyone back. With a sudden swing of its massive arm, the creature hurled the green orc aside, then gripped its sword tightly and launched itself toward Ilya. She muttered to herself, "I have to dodge." But she did not move. Urin, alarmed, pulled her into his arms and shouted, "Why are you just standing there?" The moment he leapt away with her, Karuda's sword came crashing down where they had just stood. Once he released Ilya, Urin turned to her sharply. "You almost died back there." But before he could say more, she froze, her gaze fixed on the battlefield. "My subordinates," she whispered. Her soldiers had already been defeated, lying motionless on the ground. Meanwhile, the enormous orc lumbered forward, closing the distance between them. Urin immediately raised his arm and shouted, "Black Iron Blast." A small round projectile flew from his hand, glowing brighter and brighter until it detonated with a resounding boom. Yet to his horror, the explosion did not even scratch the monster. Karuda merely furrowed its brow, growled low, and continued advancing. Urin's expression stiffened. It did not work. He is an orc warrior, his body's supposed to be tough as steel, but this is getting out of hand. Beside him, Ilya's voice rang with fury. "You bastard! How dare you harm my men? I will never forgive you." Gritting her teeth, she tightened her grip on her sword and dashed forward like a streak of light. Her blade swung in a fierce arc, but Karuda blocked it with ease. She struck again, another clash of steel rang out, sparks flying, but the monster parried once more. The two exchanged blow after blow, neither giving an inch. Behind them, the surviving soldiers began cheering wildly. "Captain, you have got this, so cool." Even Yurin was taken aback, thinking to himself, as expected of Ilya. The queen's blade trait really is terrifying. It is just the start of the fight, yet she is already pushing Karuta this far. Even his steel skin and armor are being cut through. But then Karuta's eyes narrowed. It had spotted a weakness. With a deep growl, it unleashed a suffocating wave of energy that rippled through the air. Ilya's face went pale. "An orc. Using aura," she gasped. Karuta's sneer deepened, and in the next instant, it swung its sword down in a brutal strike. From afar, Yurin watched grimly. Just like in the original story, Ilya gets defeated by Karuta. When she was knocked to the ground, her soldiers rushed over in panic. "Captain," they cried. Ilya gritted her teeth, forcing herself up despite the pain. "Damn it. I can't beat that monster. We have to retreat." But the creature was already turning its focus on Yurin, stomping toward him with heavy, deliberate steps. Ilya's eyes widened in terror. "Yurin," she screamed. The orc growled, its guttural voice rumbling through the air, as if wondering what he was planning to do next. Suddenly, Yurin pulled out a dagger, his eyes narrowing sharply as he shouted, "Straight shot." He hurled the blade with full force. Karuta roared and swung its sword, cleaving through the air in an attempt to deflect it. Yurin's eyes widened. It destroyed a dagger thrown with straight shot. In just one strike, the orc's gaze immediately shifted toward him, its growl low and menacing. It raised its sword again, ready to deliver another blow, but then a flash of light appeared out of nowhere, drawing its attention. Karuta frowned, confused, unaware that a bullet had embedded itself in one of its teeth at some point. A thunderous boom erupted. The explosion tore through its jaw, sending droplets of blood scattering through the air. At last, the orc was injured. Yurin stepped forward slowly, a smirk curling on his lips. "That first dagger I threw, it was just bait. You did not notice the second shot coming from behind because you were too busy blocking the straight shot, right? You might be made of steel, but that does not mean every inch of you is invincible. That crack in your armor your weak spot. All I had to do was aim right for it." Karuta's expression twisted in disbelief, its growl rumbling deeper. Then, with an earth-shaking leap, it lunged straight at Yurin. The ground cracked beneath its weight as its sword came crashing down. Boom, but Yurin narrowly dodged. Another swing followed, just as ferocious, yet it missed again. Yurin pointed a finger toward the beast, shouting, "Where do you think you are going?" Another explosion suddenly erupted, this time right on Karuta's body. He advanced once more, calm and confident, his voice dripping with mockery. "What is wrong? Losing your temper already? Sorry, but I am not the kind of guy who just stands still and gets caught." But the orc did not respond. Instead, it turned its head toward something else, its gaze fixed squarely on Girinox. "Hey, where the hell are you looking?" Yurin shouted, alarmed. Yet Karuta ignored him completely and began marching toward Girinox with murderous intent. Realizing things were spiraling out of control, Yurin's composure shattered. "No," he screamed. Karuta leapt high into the air, his massive blade glinting menacingly under the moonlight before swinging it down with bone-crushing force. Yurin gritted his teeth, realizing he had no choice but to take a desperate gamble. "I have to save him no matter what. Dragon Step maximum acceleration. Channel all my inner energy into Dragon Step." In an instant, Yurin's body blurred, leaving behind countless afterimages that shimmered like ripples in the air. Just as the orc's blade was about to come crashing down, he grabbed Girinox and yanked him out of the way. The earth split where Karuta's strike landed, a violent shockwave erupting from the impact. The orc snarled in frustration, turning its head to find its prey gone. Ilya's eyes widened in disbelief. "No way. That speed just now." Yurin spun back to face the orc, shouting, "Let us end this right here." His eyes burned with determination. Edna's transform into Crimson Butterfly, the highest tier hidden weapon of the Sichuan family, move out. Crimson Butterfly, twin shots. With a snap of his fingers, a spectral butterfly materialized before him, its ethereal wings glimmering in shades of crimson and silver. It floated gracefully through the air, leaving behind faint trails of light like petals scattered on the wind. Ilya, momentarily entranced, whispered, "It is beautiful." But Karuta did not share her awe. His eyes narrowed, body tense as he swung his sword wildly, trying to cleave the butterfly in half. Each strike sliced through empty air. The creature's movements were too elusive. Then, the instant Garuda finally spotted its true body, the butterfly landed gently on his shoulder. A deafening boom ripped through the battlefield. The explosion lit up the night like a scarlet starburst. Yurin stood motionless, eyes locked on the blast, thinking, the crimson butterfly is infused with enormous inner energy. But I did not expect it to pierce straight through an orc warrior's chest. That power is terrifying. The surviving soldiers stared, speechless. He is down. We won, the orc's dead. Ilya snapped her attention back to the battlefield. It is not over yet. There are still a few stragglers. Finish them off, without hesitation. She drew her sword and charged ahead. Meanwhile, Jiranox stumbled toward Yurin, his voice trembling with gratitude. Young master. Thank you so much. Yurin smiled with quiet satisfaction. Looks like I have just completed my first real battle. That night, after the skirmish was settled, he turned to Ilya, concern in his tone. Ilya, are you hurt anywhere? She exhaled slowly, shaking her head. Not great, but I owe you my life. Complaining now would sound ridiculous. Yurin chuckled, waving it off. Do not worry about it. Helping each other's only natural. Oh, and to answer your earlier question, I do not study swordsmanship. My specialty is hidden weapons. Hidden weapons, Ilya echoed, visibly surprised. You mean like throwing knives? That is right, Yurin confirmed. The exploding sphere you saw earlier and that butterfly at the end, they're all hidden weapons. Ilya's jaw nearly dropped. Unbelievable. Hidden weapons with that much power. Yurin scratched his cheek awkwardly, smiling to himself. It must be hard for her to accept. She has spent her whole life believing the sword reigns supreme. Maybe this will help her see the world a little differently. Just then, a soldier approached, reporting respectfully, Captain, the magic bag is ready. Ilya unsheathed her sword again, saying, We might not be able to collect all the bodies now, but we will take this one's head. With a clean strike, she severed Garuda's massive head and lifted it high. Yurin could not help grimacing. That head's huge. If we put it in the magic bag, won't it make a mess? Ilya smiled faintly. It is fine. That bag's made for carrying enemy leaders' heads. Do not worry about wasting it. It is late, let us move out. With that, the group mounted their horses and began riding off into the night. But before they would gone far, Ilya slowed her horse, eyes narrowing. Ahead of them, Musk Malin appeared, leading a mounted unit toward them. Hold on there, Captain, he called out, his tone sharp and commanding. Ilya's brows furrowed as she asked in surprise, Musk, where have you been? It has been quite a while since the signal flare went off. Musk hesitated for a moment before replying, his tone deliberately casual, well. We went a bit too far out. Got ambushed by a pack of orcs on the way back, too. That is why we are late. Ilya's expression darkened. Is that so? Then where are the others? Why are there only 2 of you left? Trying to appear composed, Musk said, they were all wiped out. The orcs were stronger than we expected. I want to see their bodies, Ilya snapped. Take me to them. Now. Musk's face stiffened. It is already late. You can check them tomorrow morning. Take me there now, she cut him off, her voice sharp as steel. Musk sighed heavily and nudged his horse closer to her. At least let me explain where we went first. There was not much else we could do. But as he approached, his eyes shifted, something feral flashed in them. Suddenly, he clenched his jaw, drew his sword, and hissed, damn it, he thrust the blade straight toward Ilya. Before the weapon could reach her, a silver streak whistled through the air. SHHK. The throwing knife sliced clean through Musk's wrist. He screamed in agony, tumbling from his horse, clutching the bleeding stump. Yurin stepped forward, his gaze cold and voice low. Did you really think I would fall for that? You claim to have fought a fierce battle with the orcs. Yet there is not a single trace of green blood on you, only human red. You have been colluding with them, leaking information from the very start. Musk trembled, gritting his teeth. How dare you accuse me? Yurin smirked faintly. I know it because I am the one who wrote this story myself. Ilya drew her sword with a chilling calm. I understand now. Wait, Captain Ilya, Musk stammered, backing away in panic. Please wait, the Malin family has served the Marcus house for generations. My family has contributed greatly to Enough with your nonsense, she interrupted coldly. Her blade flashed, and with a single stroke, she cut him down. Yuren exhaled softly, half in awe, half in amusement. Hot-tempered as always, huh? Ilya turned to her men. Arrest that bastard. The remaining soldier fell to his knees, trembling. Please, spare me, I was only following orders. The next morning, in the administrative manor of Castle Aas, Yuren was still half asleep when someone called softly, "Young master." Young master. Groaning, he sat up, rubbing his eyes. Jiranox, what is it? Please wake up, sir, it is almost noon. Lady Ilya has arrived. Wait, Ilya, Yuren blinked groggily. At that moment, Ilya stepped into the room, draped in a fresh, elegant outfit. Her voice was warm, teasing. Good morning, Yuren. Did you sleep well? Yuren froze, utterly dumbfounded. Huh, what? What is with that outfit? Ilya's face darkened as she said curtly, come to my house with me. Yuren blinked in confusion. What? Ilya, her cheeks slightly pink, murmured, Father said I must bring you with me at all costs. You will come, right? Yuren studied her for a moment, quietly marveling to himself. She really lives up to her title as a peerless beauty, no exaggeration at all. In the original story, this was precisely the scene where the main character saved Ilya and met Marquis Marcus. Seeing that he had not responded, Ilya turned away and called over her shoulder, then I will wait outside. Come out once you are ready. Yuren pulled up her information. Name, Ilya Marcus. Trait, peerless beauty. Title, Queen of Swords. Favorability, 45. Promising. A short while later, as Ilya waited, a voice called out, Ilya. She turned around and saw Yuren approaching with Jiranox beside him. Yuren waved lightly. Did you wait long? Let us go. As the three walked together, shouts rose from the crowd below. Wow, that is the Bloodsteel Knight. Bloodsteel Knight Ilya, the one who faced an orc warrior alone, long live. Long live the Bloodsteel Knight, we love you. Ilya raised her hand, motioning for them to quiet down. Yuren glanced at her, thinking, Bloodsteel Knight, a title of honor bestowed upon her for standing her ground even in the face of death against an orc warrior. The name is exactly the same as in the original work. Suddenly someone asked, who is the man beside her? Several admiring girls screamed, that is the Iron Mage Yuren, he is so handsome, thank you. Iron Knight, another voice yelled. Yuren blinked. Huh, Iron Knight, then realization dawned on him. These nicknames must have spread through the tales of the surviving soldiers who saw me command those metal constructs. They must think I am some kind of mage who manipulates iron. While he was lost in thought, Ilya turned her head and said, Hey, I will say it again, thank you, truly, for saving me twice. Yuren waved it off awkwardly. Come on, that was nothing. Anyone would have done the same. Ilya shook her head and walked on. This morning, just after dawn, I led my troops back into the forest to recover the bodies. Returning to the blood-soaked battlefield from yesterday, it was unbearable. Seeing the corpses of our fallen soldiers scattered among the trees, I realized one thing for certain, if you had not been there, I would be lying among them too. Yuren stayed silent. Then Ilya spoke again, voice firm with new resolve. That is why I will train harder and become stronger, strong enough to stand above everyone else. I will never allow myself to lose again. Yuren understood. So now she has awakened her true potential, becoming the warrior worthy of the Queen of Swords title. After walking a bit farther, Ilya pointed ahead to several mages and explained, the Marcus estate is not far from here. But father summoned the family's mages to teleport us, it is quicker this way. Come on. As soon as the two of them stepped into the magic circle, the mages began chanting. A flash of light enveloped them, and in the next instant, they appeared within the Marcus family's territory. Ilya smiled warmly. Welcome to our domain. It has been a while since your last visit, has not it? Yuren looked around in awe. Incredible, everything changed in the blink of an eye. I am starting to feel dizzy. So this is the sensation of teleportation that the magic tower records mentioned. Jiranox, looking uneasy, huddled closer to him. Is your home this grand as well? She asked softly. Yuren followed along with a content smile. Finally, I will be invited in and have a meal, just like the protagonist in the original story at the Marquise's estate. I used to eat nothing but chirain soup every day, but today, at last, I will taste the noble's delicacies. As soon as he entered, Marquis Marcus called out from the hall, over here, Yuren. Yurin bowed respectfully. Yurin rocks, humbly requesting an audience with Marquis Marcus. The Marquis waved a hand dismissively. No need for such formality. Sit down. Yes, sir. Yurin pulled out a chair and sat beside him. Marquis Marcus began in a warm but dignified tone. First, I must thank you. Before speaking as the father of my daughter's fiancé, I wish to thank you simply as her father for saving Ilya's life. Yurin responded modestly, please, think nothing of it. It was only natural for me to do so. Just then, the head chef approached and announced, dinner is served. Plates were set before them. Yurin's eyes brightened with expectation until he saw what was inside. The chef proudly declared, a Marcus family specialty, our signature chirain soup. Yurin's smile faltered instantly as the chef went on with flowery enthusiasm. Similar to the Rocks family's version, but enhanced with the Marcus secret recipe for a richer flavor. Marquis Marcus added cheerfully, our family, too, has the tradition of eating chirain after battle, much like the Rocks family, so you must be familiar with it. Enjoy. Yurin forced a stiff smile. Ah, yes, thank you for the meal. Outwardly he looked grateful, but inwardly he groaned. Chirain again, huh? Back home I used to eat this stuff laced with poison, he thought bitterly. They were midway through the meal when Marquis Marcus suddenly asked, so then, when do you plan to get married? Yurin froze mid-bite. The Marquis repeated cheerfully, I mean your marriage to my daughter, Ilya. Ilya's face turned crimson. Father, she exclaimed. Yurin, meanwhile, kept his composure, silently calculating his response. Is he testing me right now? He glanced at the system display. Name, Raymond Marcus. Traits, Iron Will. LV. 4. Swordsmanship. LV. 4. Super Strength. LV. 3. Favorability, 10. That is not bad. Seems like I have already improved my standing compared to the original storyline, he thought. He straightened and cleared his throat. I wish to marry her right now. Ilya nearly choked. Hey. But Yurin continued calmly, however, I have yet to become my family's heir. I am still burdened by the cold gazes of those who remember my reckless past. I will change. I will become a man worthy of Ilya. When I officially succeed the Rocks family, I will come for her. Ilya's heart swelled with emotion, her words caught in her throat. Marquis Marcus, looking thoughtful, asked, do you really think that is possible? I have heard your brothers are all geniuses. Do you truly intend to surpass them and inherit your house? Yurin replied with unshakable confidence. Of course. The Marquis chuckled approvingly. So the rumors were true, you have changed. Good. I will support you, then. Ah, by the way, word has already arrived from Wellington. Yurin blinked in surprise. What? Marquis Marcus explained, news about you has already reached the Rocks family. Someone must have used the telepathic spell to inform your father. Yurin's expression stiffened. Telepathic spell, what did he say? The Marquis smiled faintly. He instructed me to have you contact him through the same spell after dinner. I will take you to the transmission chamber once we have finished eating. Yurin nodded nervously. Ah, thank you, my lord. He then glanced sideways. Ilya was eating silently, her expression dark. What is she sulking about this time, he wondered. Well, at least I have made a good impression on Marquis Marcus. A while later, a voice echoed through the mansion. Activate the telepathic channel. A mage stood before a glowing orb, chanting, Suri Suori Mai, Mos Mosi Mosi. The Rocks family, he announced, and the orb flickered to life, projecting a shimmering image. Wellington Rox's furious face filled the sphere. Yurin could not help but think, this feels exactly like a video call. Scratching his head awkwardly, he greeted, Ah, father. Wellington gritted his teeth. Yurin, you troublesome brat. Yurin laughed sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. Sorry, father. Wellington sighed. Are you hurt anywhere? No, sir. The air grew awkwardly quiet. After a pause, Wellington asked, Is it true you saved Ilya and defeated an orc warrior? Yurin replied innocently, I was just lucky, father. Knowing his son's modesty, Wellington did not press further. Lucky, huh, fine, we will talk details when you get home. When are you returning? Yurin answered, the day after tomorrow, I think. Wellington raised an eyebrow, then smiled faintly. The day after tomorrow, good. Bring your brothers home with you. Yurin broke into a cold sweat. What? A while later, inside the castle, Marquis Marcus's voice echoed through the hall. Leaving as soon as tomorrow, what a shame. It has been so long since we last met, if only you could stay a few more days. Yurin hesitated, then politely declined. I would like that too, but my father has assigned me a mission. Marquis Marcus sighed regretfully. A pity, truly. Then allow me to provide you with a teleportation spell so you can travel with ease. Yurin gave a strained laugh. I am grateful, but I will have to refuse. His words caught both Marcus and Ilya by surprise. Yurin clarified calmly, I am still in the middle of training. I do not want to rely on conveniences like teleportation. The Marquis's curiosity deepened, his tone turning approving. Oh, you have really changed, have not you? I look forward to seeing how much stronger you will become. Yurin smiled awkwardly. Thank you, my lord. When he glanced at Ilya's face, he could not help but feel secretly pleased. She is smiling, then she must be satisfied with that answer. Yet, his reason for turning down the offer was not just about training. There was another motive he did not voice. As he strode toward the exit, he called out, let us go. Time to move out. Girinox, visibly confused, pointed in another direction. Young master, did not you say we are heading to the capital? The road to the capital is that way. Yurin turned his head slightly. We will stop somewhere first. The mountain beside the Marquis's territory, there is a dragon's hollow there, is not it? Girinox blinked in surprise. Dragon's hollow, of course. I used to go there before I opened my forge. You went there to pray as well. The young master's expression shifted subtly as he replied. No. I am going there to retrieve a treasure. Inwardly, he added, a treasure only I know about, something the original protagonist would have discovered later in the story. The cavern known as Dragon's Hollow was said to be the ancient dwelling of dragons from ages long past. Before long, the two arrived at the site. Girinox scratched his head, puzzled. Strange, there are already so many people praying here this early in the morning. Yurin smirked faintly. With this many people around, you would think the treasure would be long gone. Then, with a relaxed tone, he added, they are all fakes. The statement left Girinox utterly baffled. Yurin continued walking, leaving behind a cryptic remark. This world is full of secrets. Come on, we will take the route around the mountain. Girinox trailed after him obediently. Yes, sir. After a while, they reached what appeared to be a dead end, a sheer wall of rock. Breathing heavily, Girinox complained, young master, there is nothing here. Yurin remained silent, studying the cliff intently. This should be it, he thought. The secret handle I installed myself. Shaped just like a car door handle. After checking the surroundings, he asked, no one around, right? Once assured, he reached forward and pulled the mechanism as though opening a car door. A few seconds later, the cliff began to rumble. Massive slabs of stone shifted aside, revealing a hidden passageway. Girinox's eyes widened in shock. What in the world, that is impossible. Yurin, completely unfazed, urged cheerfully, come on, let us go in. They stepped into the passage, and the stone door sealed shut behind them. Girinox glanced around in awe. It is brighter in here than I expected. Then, something caught his eye, a crystal glimmering faintly in the dim light. Wait, is that a gemstone? Yurin spun around sharply. Do not touch it. Doing so will trigger a trap. Girinox blanched. A trap? What kind of trap? Yurin's expression darkened as he stroked his chin. Probably the kind that turns the entire place into an inferno. We would be roasted alive. There are more traps deeper in, so stay close to me. Girinox hurried after him. Yes, young master. After a short walk, they arrived before a stone platform. Yurin's sharp gaze fixed ahead. We are here. Girinox looked around, utterly confused. What do you mean, there is nothing here? Yurin remained calm, still observing the stone surface, and asked evenly, do you know what lies beyond this? Girinox tilted his head, not understanding a word. With a sigh, Yurin decided to explain. That fake dragon's hollow ends there just beyond this wall. I can feel the energy of those people praying in that direction. Right now, they are bowing to us. Now then, let us see about that treasure. Girinox's eyes sparkled with excitement. Treasure. Yurin knelt down and, without further hesitation, reached under the altar to pull a hidden lever. Instantly, the stone lid gave way with a dull clang. Jiranox's jaw dropped at the sight before him. This. These are all gold coins. Yurin stayed composed as he picked up a small ornate box lying nearby. A proud gleam flickered in his eyes. Something more valuable than gold. This is what I came for. He opened the box. Inside rested a radiant gem, and a faint message glowed in the air before him. Warrior's Gem, effect, rebirth. Without wasting a second, he gave a quick order. Hurry up and pack the gold into the magic pouch. Jiranox snapped to attention. Right away, young master. A short while later, both of them emerged from the hidden chamber, the treasure secured. As they stepped out into the open, Jiranox asked curiously, "Where to next, sir?" Yurin replied with practiced calm, "To the magic tower in Ass Castle. We will teleport from there." Jiranox nodded in understanding. "Ah, I see. Funny how there are still people coming and going this late." But unlike the blacksmith's light-hearted mood, Yurin's face had gone pale and tense. What is this overwhelming pressure? His right eye flared with light. Creator's eye activate. His expression darkened further. That woman, impossible. She should not even appear until the latter half of the novel. Seeing his master's sudden change, Jiranox grew alarmed. "Young master, what is wrong?" But Yurin barely heard him. His mind roared in panic. Her aura. It is really this powerful. I can't beat her. Not yet. I have to get out of here. Now. Thinking of that, Yurin turned cautiously and said, "Jiranox, let us head to Castle Ass quickly. I am starving." As he spoke, he sped up his pace, leaving the blacksmith scrambling after him, confused but obedient. "Why yes, young master, wait for me." Meanwhile, a figure clad in black, who had been walking with deliberate calm, suddenly halted and turned slightly, murmuring under his breath, "Something's off. Those two. They just left without noticing." By late afternoon, within a quiet inn chamber, Yurin sat silently on the edge of the bed, his mind alert as he replayed the earlier encounter. That presence. It should not exist at this point in the story. It was supposed to appear halfway through, no, even later. He frowned deeply, eyes narrowing. Why now, and right there of all places? The monster guarding the treasure in the Dragon's Hollow was not supposed to appear until much later. Could it be that the flow of the story is changing? But even then, I have no idea where the protagonist is now, or what he is doing. After a while, unable to reach any conclusion, Yurin sighed and waved the thought away. He picked up the gem and muttered, "Whatever. Thinking about it won't help. Let us just eat it." He swallowed the gem whole. Almost immediately, a searing heat surged through his body as if his veins were burning. "I need to circulate my energy fast," he thought through gritted teeth. "I have to get stronger as quickly as possible." Inside his consciousness, the system interface flickered to life. Commencing full body transformation. Converting host into an enhanced physique. Time slipped by unnoticed. When Yurin finally ended his meditation, he opened his eyes slowly. "You have obtained Heavenly Martial Body." His lips curled into a grin. Jackpot. The Heavenly Martial Body. His mind raced with excitement. In martial arts novels, that is one of the most powerful physiques possible. Whether sword or fist, all techniques can be perfectly replicated after seeing them just once. The body itself becomes light like a feather. Just then, the door burst open. "Young master," Jiranox's voice called. Yurin turned his head and replied calmly, "Yeah, come in." The blacksmith entered, blinking in surprise. "You are awake, breakfast, sir, also you have gotten taller overnight." Yurin blinked. "What, that is impossible. You must be seeing things." But Jiranox squinted and shook his head adamantly. "No mistake, sir. I am a blacksmith. I can measure with my eyes alone. Yesterday, you were about 1 meter 78. Today, you are at least 182. Yurin rubbed his neck awkwardly. "You have got a sharp eye, huh?" Internally, he sighed in amusement. "Well, whatever. If the Heavenly Martial Body makes me taller, I will take it." A few hours later, the two arrived at the teleportation tower. The attendant greeted them with a bow. "Welcome. How may I assist you today?" Yurin responded with his usual calm. "We would like to use the teleportation spell." "To which destination?" the man asked. "The capital." The attendant froze mid-motion, his expression shifting. "The capital? I am afraid travel there is currently restricted." Both Yurin and Jiranox blinked in shock. What? Yes, the man confirmed gravely. Due to security concerns for the royal family, access to the capital is limited. Commoners or those without noble status are not permitted entry. Yurin frowned, muttering under his breath, "Ah, the beauty of aristocratic society." With no other choice, he decided to reveal his identity. "I am Yurin Rox, heir of House Rox, eldest son of Marquis Rox. The man behind me is my personal blacksmith, Jiranox." The staff immediately perked up, whispering among themselves in awe. The Iron Mage Lord Yurin himself. Yurin scratched the back of his head awkwardly. "That is me, I suppose." But the surrounding onlookers could not contain their curiosity. "Is it true you kept throwing iron orbs that exploded? What kind of magic array was that? How do you lock onto targets? Why could not we feel any mana fluctuations?" The barrage of questions filled the hall until a stern voice cut through the noise. "That is enough." Everyone fell silent and turned toward the source. The students quickly scattered, leaving Yurin and Jiranox staring blankly. "What the?" Yurin murmured. "Why'd they all run?" The man who had spoken approached them with a polite nod. "My apologies for my students' lack of manners." He turned around in shock and asked, "Who are you?" The old man introduced himself. "I am Yubian, the chairman of the Magic Tower Council at Ass Castle." The name alone made him freeze in disbelief. Yubian, the Grand Archmage Yubian, a character I came up with just for fun. He could hardly believe it. Outwardly, he is a gentle, kind-looking old man, but in truth, whenever he is in a foul mood, he becomes a bloodthirsty lunatic killing in the dark without even blinking. I can't believe I forgot that. I never even gave him a proper appearance in the story. So he is here too. His mind was still screaming in panic from running into one terrifying figure after another when Yuban's calm voice echoed again. "I shall teleport you to the capital from this chamber." Snapping out of his thoughts, he stammered, "Ah, why yes, thank you, sir." Yubian turned to leave but suddenly paused mid-step. "Oh, but for some reason, I have a feeling we will meet again, Yurin." Yurin's face went stiff. He could barely squeeze out a word. "Ah. Yes." Inside, he was shouting, "I refuse." Outside the tower, the once clear skies suddenly split apart with a flash of lightning. Then a mechanical voice rang out, "You have arrived at the capital. Please exit the teleportation chamber. Welcome to the capital." As they stepped outside, Jiranox's eyes sparkled with curiosity at everything he saw. Why are all the buildings here so luxurious? Even the townsfolk's clothes look extravagant. This really is a different world. Yurin smiled and suggested, "You should use some of the money I gave you to buy a few new outfits." But Jiranox quickly waved it off. "Oh, come on." Yurin chuckled softly, though a hint of awkwardness tugged at him. "Honestly, young master, you are dressed even more plainly than I am." After walking a bit farther, the two arrived in front of a grand structure. Jiranox exclaimed, "This is the Royal Knight Academy." Yurin nodded in admiration. "Magnificent. It looks just like a university." As they approached, a guard stepped forward and asked, "May I help you, sir?" Yurin answered politely, "I have come to visit an acquaintance." The guard continued, "May I have your name and the name of the student you wish to see?" Yurin introduced himself with a smile. "I am Yurin Rox. I am here to see my younger brother Colin." The words had barely left his mouth when someone behind them called out, "Yurin Rox." Yurin and Jiranox turned around to see a young man with silver hair approaching. The sight made Yurin pause for a moment before the memory clicked. A silver-haired youth from the northern Grand Duchy of Elian. Realizing who it was, Yurin nodded. "Yes, that is me." The young man came closer and asked sharply, "Are you the one who defeated the orc warrior?" Yurin fell silent, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. That rumor reached the capital already, but the young man's tone hardened. "Then you must be pretty strong, huh?" Yurin stayed silent, unable to comprehend the situation. What is with this guy, talking to me so bluntly the first time we meet? When he did not respond, the young man also fell quiet. After a moment of awkward silence, Yurin finally replied, feeling a bit uneasy, You are quite direct. Sorry about that." But the young man smiled brightly and introduced himself. "I am the second son of House Elian Carrick Elian. I am a friend of Colin Rox." Hearing that, Yurin finally exhaled in relief. So he really is from the Elian family. Carrick continued cheerfully, gesturing ahead. This way, I will take you to Colin Rocks. Urin, however, remained cautious. Something about this guy's vibe does not sit right. He turned to give a quick instruction. Girinox, wait here. Girinox nodded. Yes, sir. With that settled, Urin followed Carrick down the hall, but soon, Carrick's expression shifted slightly as he glanced over his shoulder and said, I have heard rumors about you. They say you and Lady Ilia defeated the orc warrior together. I can understand Lady Ilia's part, she is a promising knight, after all, but you, Urin. There is not much information about you. Do you actually use magic? Urin replied as calmly as ever, I can't explain the details, but I am not a mage. Carrick's tone turned sly. Really, then let us keep going. Urin had no idea what he meant, following along in growing confusion. What is his deal? Carrick smirked, and after a short walk, he stopped. We are here. Urin blinked at the sight before him. What is this place, a training ground? A purple-haired man approached them and greeted, Ah, Lord Carrick. You have returned. Carrick waved a hand dismissively. Yes, yes. Have you seen Colin Rocks? The man's face changed instantly. Colin Rocks, but my lord, you just took him to see a professor, did not you? Carrick froze. I did. Urin's face paled. What the hell, he took Colin somewhere and now drags me here instead. Before he could say anything, the purple-haired man glanced at Urin. HMPH, and who is that? Carrick turned and introduced him casually, that is Urin Rocks, Colin's older brother. He is the one who fought alongside Lady Ilia and brought down the orc warrior. But he told me he is not a mage like I assumed, meaning he fights using his body, just like us. I heard you wield a blade, do not you, Urin, and even launch those iron orbs and blood butterfly strikes. Right, everyone here's curious. Would you give us a little demonstration? At that, Urin's blood started to boil. He immediately understood Carrick's intentions. Fine, he said with a faint smirk. Carrick clapped his hands and called someone forward. This is Malay. He is about average among us in strength. But Urin, did not you say you use a blade? Urin answered coolly, that is fine. This is not a real battle anyway, I will use this. Carrick raised an eyebrow but nodded. Oh, I heard you can't use a sword, so this should be interesting. Go ahead, show us what you have got. Urin gritted his teeth inwardly. These nobles. They really think I am beneath them just because I use a short blade. Well, this'll be a good chance to test the heavenly martial body transformation. An invisible force of pressure began to emanate from him. Carrick's voice rang out. All right then, begin. Malay gripped his sword tightly, lowering into stance. You can take the first strike, he offered. Urin did not hesitate. He swung downward slowly, almost casually. Malay scoffed, lifting his sword with contempt to block until the overwhelming force behind Urin's strike crashed down like a mountain. The impact slammed Malay's head into the floor, leaving him sprawled motionless with a huge lump forming on his skull. The onlookers stood frozen, stunned by the absurd sight. What the hell just happened? Someone whispered. Carrick let out a dry laugh, unable to find the right words. I suppose Malay underestimated him a little too much. My apologies, but let us have another match. He gestured for another to step forward. Rula, you're next. Then he introduced him with a grin. Rula here ranks above average among us, stronger than Malay. Do not let your guard down, Rula. You saw what happened, right? Rula smirked confidently. TCH, do not compare me to that muscle-headed pig. Carrick nodded in satisfaction. Good. Then let us begin. The moment Carrick gave the signal, Rula charged forward, but to Urin, everything seemed to move in slow motion. He froze in mild astonishment. What is this, their movements? They look so slow. Is this the power of the heavenly martial body? Just one swing is all it takes. He raised his blade again and brought it down in a slow, almost lazy motion. Rula sensed danger and stopped abruptly, lifting his sword to block, but, as before, he could not withstand the sheer weight behind the strike. The blade slammed onto his head with a dull thud, dropping him flat. Carrick stood there, mouth agape, completely dumbfounded. What the? Again. Now fully confident, Urin could not help but smile inwardly. That is right. Thanks to the heavenly martial body, my strength, speed, and reflexes have completely surpassed ordinary humans. Feeling emboldened, he decided to mock them a little. Is this so-called Knight Academy only filled with weaklings? Carrick's jaw tightened, his expression darkening with rage. HMPH. Yuren, my apologies, but I will have to step in myself this time. I am the strongest here, I will be your opponent. Yuren simply shrugged. Suit yourself. The two faced each other. The air trembled as Carrick released an intense surge of aura, yet in Yuren's eyes, it was nothing impressive. Learning from his subordinate's mistakes, Carrick dashed forward at blinding speed, creating a dozen afterimages circling Yuren. Yuren's gaze darted calmly between them, analyzing. High-speed movement looks like there are multiple versions of him at once. So, he plans to strike from my blind spot. Carrick smirked in triumph, locking onto Yuren's back. Just as he was about to strike, his face drained of color. Yuren tilted his head slightly, exhaling in mild annoyance. But with the heavenly martial body's enhanced perception, I can see right through that. Carrick's sword came down missed entirely as Yuren sidestepped. Then, with that same deliberate, unhurried motion, Yuren lifted his blade and tapped Carrick square on the head. The impact made a resounding thump. Carrick collapsed instantly, unconscious, with a swollen bump rising from his scalp. The crowd around them went dead silent, unable to process what they would just witnessed. Then, from outside, a voice called in. What is going on here? What just happened? Everyone turned toward the entrance and exclaimed in unison, Lord Colin rocks. The young man stepped in, scanning the scene with a sharp, displeased look. What is this mess, and who are you? Yuren froze for a moment, then his thoughts clicked. That is my younger brother. The swordsmanship prodigy himself, Colin rocks.